It is that day of the week. It is the tail end of the week, which means we have to start the show a particular way. And it's right here. I finally found it in the rundown of all the things that we pack in during the week so we can all know what's going on. Here we go. Let's start Friday the way we're supposed to.
Come on, man.
It's
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
SDH AM, John, here, you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. It's a stacked, busy, traditionally busy show on a Friday. We've got to get you through what happened last night with the U17s. James Donaldson in net for the United States as they are trying to prepare for World Cup qualifying. They win their group, they're in. 8 groups, 8 different sites, and you've got 3 matches to do it. Now for the U.S., it's only 2. Big win last night. We'll go over the highlights and the stats and everything coming up in just a little bit. Coming up bottom of the hour, it's Greg Garza and the Friday Free Kick from our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. Then in the 10 o'clock hour, we get to catch up with our friend Jon Arnold. It's been quite a while since we've had John on to talk about getting CONCACAF. Full disclosure, I subscribe. You should too if you are so inclined to find out anything and everything going on about this particular region. So we're going to get CONCACAF and maybe CONCACAFinated and all of the Conca things coming up. We got Conca champions to talk about. And I wanted to kind of get into John's journey a little bit too, because of everything that he's invested over time to get what he is doing to where he is. And so it's just kind of letting everybody know what he has invested to get to this point. We'll probably talk a little Texas Tech football too. He went to go see some Texas Tech hoops earlier this week, and we got to find out how that went. So we're going to talk about Red Raiders. We're going to talk about getting CONCACAF, and we're going to talk about CONCACAF in general. So that's coming up in hour number 2. We're going to set you up for your weekend. If there's previews and juice boxes, we'll get through all the things, especially in England, go through what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, all the things. And we might, depending on how things lay out, last night, our time, had a chance to catch up with South Island United's Jaylen Rodwell and Harris Zeb in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, as our coverage of the OFC Pro League continues. And so we catch up with South Island United and Jaylen Rodwell's story and his representation of the island nation of Niue in the South Pacific, and Harris Zeb, who is back home in Christchurch, a young man of Christchurch, New Zealand, playing for the home team. And I mean that literally because he's on the South Island. Grew up, was born in Pakistan, moved to New Zealand when he was 2, I believe. And he's now with the Pakistani national team, played with our friends at Auckland City right here, played for them in the Club World Cup. And we might play that in added time this morning in the 3rd hour after 11 o'clock. But we'll get you ready for the weekend, get you ready with all the things. And we've got some a bit of a stunner out of AFCON. And so we'll get into that too as well. So all the things and whatever else is on your mind here on a Friday as we all freeze together as we're close to 0 degrees centigrade. It was like 30 when I started down here in the office in the studio this morning. So we'll see how it warms up. It's supposed to warm up pretty good, but we'll find out what it's going to look like today, and we'll see where it goes. Okay, a couple of things that are coming across the bow just quickly before we get into opening kickoff, which will be the youth national team coming up in a sec. Cesar Luis Merlo reporting Toronto's very advanced negotiations to sign Emilio Aristabal forward for Atlético Nacional and the Colombia U20s. Talks with Atlético Nacional are in the final phase for a 1-year loan with a purchase option. So that's from Cesar Luis Merlo. And Toronto, let me check Toronto quickly and see where their rosters are and if they've got the if they have the availabilities and what their approach is for players. Are they 3-3 or 2-4, and what are they checking? And then we also have to kind of talk about the Torneo de Tejas this weekend, and we'll let you know what's going on there. Okay, so right now they've got 2 DPs and 1 U22. So it could go any one of 2 ways, and my guess is he would probably end up being a U22 slot to go with Cassius Mailula. Georgi Mihailovic and Richie Larea are your two DPs at the moment. They've got a little over $5 million left in Garber bucks. They had the one match on the 28th, and then they are looking at matches in Spain between now and the end of preseason. So apparently they're going to be playing AIK football tomorrow, and midweek they're going to play Fredrikstad and then FC Policia Zhytomyr. So that's the 3 matches in a week starting tomorrow for Toronto FC. They have brought in Walker Zimmerman, Adam Perlman, William Yarborough, and they have exited Maxime Dominguez, Nathaniel Edwards, Sean Johnson, Kevin Long, Hugo Mbonge, Raul Petretta, Sigur Rosted, and Charlie Sharp. But right now, it's only listed as 2-1, so we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so that's what is up with Toronto. So this morning, and let me say hi to folks. Morning, Michael. I think Michael might be on the golf course. So huzzah for Michael to being on the golf course. Let's see. So Abby's like in the 70s, back into the 70s on Tuesday, in time for the kit release. Kit release is going to be really interesting. That's going to be very, very interesting. Yeah, we do. This is and Ricky, very, very. That is very, very astute. I like that idea. Trying to bring in our buddy Kevin Egan before the season starts. Our buddy Kevin Egan's getting into the pub business. Shoot, let me make this opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. And our friends at Black Pitch Coffee. Once again, start your day with the most important stories in the game and the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee. Yeah, if you watched social media yesterday, Kevin Egan in a hard hat. The Egans are now going to be looking at they are constructing a new Irish pub. And that's big. I mean, when you look at what Kev is trying to do, Kevin now with Dead Rabbit Centennial Yards, the Irish Exit, dream project for Kevin and his wife Meg. So Pierce White, Dead Rabbit, and Centennial Yards are all combining with the Egans for the Irish Exit. And we got to get Kevin on to discuss what's going on with the Irish Exit, how that came to be. Definitely have to figure out how all of that came to pass. But yeah, Centennial Yards. He's going to have an Irish pub. Dig that. That's very, very cool. And I mean, with Centennial Yards coming online and everything, I am intrigued. I am definitely intrigued. So really looking forward to seeing how that continues to evolve as we go. So morning, Ricky, morning, Abby, and morning, David, because it is Friday. Absolutely true. Okay, so Abby was having problems with the names on the starting lineup on the app yesterday. Okay, for the U17s. Interesting, but it was a dominant performance for the U17s. Frost delay until 10:30. Tea time at 10:50. Okay, so loitering and malingering. All right, I see that. Yeah, brought up. He is not paying either me or Jarrett licensing. He is not. Actually an Irish goodbye. If it was an Irish goodbye, that would mean that actually the problem, David, if it was an Irish goodbye, the issue is no one would pay their bill. If it's an Irish goodbye, people are just getting up and leaving. So I don't know if you would ever want to have a place named Irish Goodbye. So I think Kevin for Irish Exit might be the way to go. So if it were Irish Goodbye, I don't know if you would want that as a name for a bar or a gathering spot, a watering hole. I don't know if you would want that. So just Irish Exit, we have to find it. We got to get Kevin on to talk about the difference between an Irish Exit and an Irish. That's what I'm saying. We got to figure out Irish Exit and Irish Goodbye. We got to figure out what the difference is. But we all know what an Irish Goodbye is. No one would pay their bills, and Kevin and Meg's restaurant would go under. Their joint would go under in like a quarter. So Irish Exit, maybe there's something celebratory. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Is an Irish goodbye an Irish exit? That's the thing. Okay, so let me go on. Let me go on to the bastion of all the information, and I wanna find out if this is okay. All right, and okay. Why the? All right, an Irish goodbye. We know what an Irish goodbye is, but we don't know Irish exit. Okay, so Irish exit does not apparently have its own thing. But according to an article in Thrillist in 2018, the person who leaves the party without telling his friends is an a-hole, right? Well, not necessarily. And this is an article, like I said, this is from Will Fulton at Thrillist in 2018. Personally, the Irish exit didn't flash its brilliance until I experienced my first post-college networking event. Okay, so no one cares if you leave. Stuck into me like acrylic nails on the shoulder of an ill-fitting Navy suit in his first post-college mixer. So people, okay, so his thought is, it boils down to people really don't care if you leave. Well, if you do an Irish exit, the Irish exit is not rude. Okay, so Will is referring to it as an Irish exit, but is an Irish exit an Irish goodbye by name? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. His thought is, the Irish exit is not rude. It's a sign of emotional intelligence, of candor, of self-assuredness, but it doesn't pay the bill that you've created when you're in a restaurant. Means you know where you stand with everyone else, that you have some semblance of awareness, rare burst of succinctness and selfless subtlety. So uncommon in modern human interaction, you're choosing not to hold everyone back by abandoning your own self-serving goodbyes. That's a good thing. But is an Irish exit? Yeah, the term has a loaded negative connotation, basically saying Irish people get, okay. Irish exit is not ghosting, according to Will, as that word almost exclusively pertains to dating now. It talks about ghosting, isn't about you leaving, so you're never speaking to your family again, way different. Well, like any social construct, the etiquette of properly landing a goodbye via Irish exit has ground rules that make all the difference. Okay, so then he goes through the ground rules of the Irish goodbye, and he actually said at the end of his column, in fact, I'm leaving right now. That's not an Irish goodbye. So he writes a column about an Irish goodbye, refers to it as the Irish exit, and then tells you that his column is over. So he tells you up front he's leaving, when the whole idea was that it's not rude to tell people that you're not leaving. Should have just finished his column in mid-sentence. But anyway, okay, so Will Fulton at Thrillist is referring to in a 2018 column as the Irish goodbye is an Irish exit. So this is the semantics of this argument. Okay, so this is, and what is an Irish exit? Okay, so the Today Show in 2024 is referring to an Irish exit or Irish goodbye, referring to someone who leaves without notifying the host. But that's the problem. If you name your bar Irish exit, it's a bar. You're supposed to pay your bill. Did not. Okay, yeah, we're really going to have to talk to Kevin about this. And David, obviously, yes. When he's in, we have to make sure he carries the 400 Drunken Rabbits mezcal and the, yes, and Around the Corner lager. No, David, he did not. Will Fulton did not land the landing on the article. He didn't land the landing. If you're doing an article about an Irish goodbye not being rude, you finish the article, you didn't leave. You didn't do an Irish goodbye and an article about Irish goodbyes and saying it's not rude. Of course, maybe he's learned his lesson since he wrote the article in 2018. So, all right. So, yeah, we're gonna have to have Kevin on to talk about it. This sounds like a Friday thing. All right. So I'm gonna text Kevin and find out what his life is like next week, so we can discuss things. Because the semantics of the Irish exit and the Irish goodbye, we've got to get that figured out off the top. We have to get that figured out off the top. Do you really want a bar, gathering hole, fun place named after something where you just kind of ease out the door? Unless you've got like a big 6'6", 260-pound dude who's got a card reader, or you leave your card with him at the door on your way in. It's like you set up a tab, and then your tab is on this, like the price guns that read the QR codes. and then the 6'6", 260-pound dude at the front, or the dude at the back, because God knows there might be folks trying to do an Irish exit and not pay and just leave their card behind. We got to figure this out. Okay, so we got to have Egan on the show to talk about this, and we got to talk about the name. So yeah, there we go. And we definitely have to have the mess call in the logger as a part of it. Thank you, David. So all right, so that's opening kickoff. Kevin's got a new place. We saw the thing, and we got to ask him about it. The semantics of the name. We got to do it. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day with the most important stories in the game. The right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, with notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee. Okay, yesterday, the U17s were on their way to World Cup qualification, and it was the way that it works in this particular setup is if you win your group, you're in, because 8 teams qualify for the World Cup in Qatar in November. And so you win your group, you're in. 3 matches. U.S. took care of business in the first one. Here's your highlights, courtesy of our friends at CONCACAF and FS2. Mike Watts on the call for FS2.
Cinco Acero. Ball whipped across. Header, snap back down, and whisked home. The United States have the opening goal just over 5 minutes in. Aaron Medina. California native who features in LA Galaxy, the beneficiary of Ostrander's selflessness. Was falling away from goal, spotted his compatriot, and Aaron Medina slams it in for the opening goal for the United States. Already cleared away for the day. U.S. into the box. Here's Medina. Rolls across. Ostrander leans it back. Ostrander follows. Tapped home. And it is 3-0 United States, and Medina on the doorstep this time. Ostrander. Steelman. Header down and in from Medina. Tic-tac-toe. What a goal for the United States. And Medina has a first-half hat trick for the U.S.
3-0 there, 4-0 with the halftime. So 4 in the first half, 4 in the second half, 8-0 the final over St. Vincent of the Grenadines, the hosts, as this one was being played in Kingstown. So first half hat trick, Aaron Medina braces Paul Sokolov, Malik Jakupovic. And once again, you leave that first match with a +8 in goal difference. They sit atop Group F, edging ahead of the Dominican Republic, who beat St. Kitts and Nevis 5-0 in the first match of the day. Next up, they get St. Kitts and Nevis. That's on Saturday night, 7 o'clock on FS2. The winner of each of the 8 U17 qualifier groups advanced to the World Cup in Qatar this fall. U.S. controlled the game from the opening whistle, out shooting the Vinci Heat 27-3 and had 69% of possession. You get all of the goals on the board, and it was a 78 degrees there. It was not 78 degrees here of while we were watching. So it was the Medina, an own goal. Medina gets 2. By the way, Will Ostrander had 3 assists on the night. And then you had Paul Sokolov with a brace, and then Jakupovic with a brace, like immediately. So Sokolov scores twice, and then Jakupovic gets his. Then it was the Sokolov goals were 5 minutes apart. Jakupovic goals were in the 71st and the 87th. So his were 16 minutes apart, but they scored 3 and 10. And you finish up 8-0 at the end of the day. James Donaldson started for the U.S., played the full 90. And your stats, 27 3 shots, 12 3 shots on target, 5 saves for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 3 saves for James Donaldson, 11 corners for the U.S. in that match, none for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 25 fouls called by Micah Erskine, the Guianan center ref. The ARs were Patrick Brown, Brandon Cyrus of Guyana, and Renly Napoleon. And so 1 card, Adam Pierre with a caution in the 70th minute, 25 fouls, 15 called on the U.S., 8 offside calls on the United States. And so once again, next up for the U.S., match number 2, St. Kitts and Nevis, and that is going to be on Saturday night. And then it will be the match that will determine the bid with the Dominican Republic, and that'll be coming up at the turn of the week. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the weekend with Bart on Monday. So looking for Abe, Maddie, and Bart to dial it up with us on Monday and break through everything going on with Atlanta United and everything going on around the planet as we take our tours on Monday. And so just a reminder, the Torneo de Tejas with Atlanta United, and that is this weekend. And it starts this weekend. So it's the 3 matches in a week. And it is for, if I could spell, with Atlanta United as they work their way over to Texas for their next couple of matches in this exhibition season. So the preseason schedule as it's laid out. Once again, it is at Houston at Hell in a Shell. That one is tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. No word yet, and we'll try and do some digging toward the end of the show. No word on if the match is going to be streamed at Hell in a Shell. 8 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow night. Then you have the match against Red Bulls in Frisco at Toyota Stadium set for noon 5 days from now. So that would be Wednesday. And then next Saturday at FC Dallas, 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, local our time, against them. So that would be the last exhibition match. 3 in a week at Houston, playing Red Bulls in Frisco, playing FCD in Dallas, and then it's the 21st, and then the regular season's on. And make sure that your seatbelts are strapped in and that your tray tables are at their full upright and locked positions, because it is that time of year, because we're getting to it. And it is that time where we bring in our buddy Greg Garza for the Friday Free Kick, and we know that we've got to kind of work on the hop this week because, Greg, where are you flying off to now, man? Where are you going today?
Oh, man, I'm all over the darn place, man. I just got back from Tampa last night, late at night. Had to speak to good old FC Cincinnati. And I actually fly to Mexico City Sunday morning, man.
Whoa.
I have to do a panel and a media tour with all the major channels there, and then a panel with broadcasters about the synergy and just kind of the working together of MLS and Liga MX during the World Cup. Just trying to work together on, trying to make the World Cup as big as possible, then also speak about the kind of the competitiveness between the 2 leagues and how they've differed over the years, how they've been similar, and kind of see where they are currently right now.
All right, so then let's warm you up for this. So
it's going to be all in Spanish. You want us to do Spanish today?
That would be a challenge, because you would sit there and you would ridicule me after about 7 seconds. It's like, Nelson, what are you talking about?
I gotta get my tongue all ready for this weekend. So
yeah. So we'll get your sound bites ready, but we'll have you talk a little longer about it. But I mean, you've been on both sides of this equation, and you've seen how Major League Soccer has grown. You've seen where Liga MX is, and you've seen the margins close depending on which matchup and which teams we're talking about. The Grandes in Liga MX, the Grandes in Major League Soccer, the teams coming up from the bottom and the differences there. So how are they the same, and where are they different?
That's such a great question, because I feel if I look back at my career and I think back to 2000, and if I believe it's 2013, maybe it's 2013, Conca champions with Club Tijuana. We lost in the semifinals in the second leg against Cruz Azul. Cruz Azul ended up winning the whole thing that year. But we played LA Galaxy in the quarterfinals, two-legged games. I believe we lost the first game in LA 1-0. There's Jossie Zardes, Robbie Keane, Landon Donovan, Juninho, Marcelo Sarvis. I mean, they had the whole shebang. Omar Gonzalez, everybody who was just such a LA Galaxy big time. It was their star team. Those were the years they won 3 in a row in the MLS. So And for us, I mean, I think that game in LA, I want to say we had hit the post like maybe 3 or 4 times. And then getting into Tijuana, I just remember the next week, man, all of us were just like, this is our magic time. And I believe we won the game 5-0 in Tijuana. So I was looking back at that, and I thinking having that mentality to where whenever I was playing in Mexico at the time, it was almost like, yeah, give us an MLS team to play. Right? I was like, sure, we'll take on any team, and we'll absolutely smother them. We had just made quarterfinals in Copa Libertadores, playing against all those South American teams, and so it was a different. I think it was a different era and a different mindset playing in Mexico at the time, to where I think it has turned into a complete 180 over the last 5 years, 4 years. That we're talking over 10 years ago, those games, right? To where I think it's now you're looking at the other side of it, where I think Mexican teams are probably looking at American and MLS and North American teams like, oh crap, man, we're gonna have a tough battle. And I think it's almost like MLS teams are also rubbing their hands together and just like, hey, come on, we know we have the star power. We know we have the ability. We have these young DPs that are in place. We have everybody. It's that I think that it's really turned into something that is completely turned around, complete 180 in terms of what it used to be and what it is today.
Yeah, we're going to have our buddy Jon Arnold coming on in hour number 2 to kind of go into this year's tournament in depth a little bit. But, I mean, when you look at where Major League Soccer has come from, and then you look at what Vancouver did last year, they went on the road. They took on the Liga MX teams. They didn't care. They're just going to start swinging, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at this, but there is still a difference, and it's tied to, once again, that salary cap, because you've got all of the grandes in Mexico, and they're taking big swings, and they're dropping, $11 gazillion and bringing folks in, and their payrolls are what they are. And Major League Soccer is what it is right now under the cap, but you're seeing what's going on in Fort Lauderdale, and it's almost like they're trying to dare the rest of the league. It's like, well, are you with us, or you're gonna hop on this train and try to challenge the rules and try to bring in all these players, or are you going to try and stay where you are to try to compete? It's an interesting mix of where Inter Miami is going with it, and then you have a team like Vancouver that's challenged, but they do it their way. It's two different ways almost of setting it up, but you're seeing MLS really, as you said, they're closing that gap, and I think you see what Inter Miami is trying to do to make it that much closer, bringing in all of this worldly talent.
Yeah, everybody has their own method to their madness, right? Whether you're trying to bend as much as you can in terms of other teams within this league, we won't say break the rules,
no,
but
challenge.
Okay, that's the right way.
Yes. Well, I mean, they see the rules as they are, and there's a literal interpretation, and there's a loose interpretation. I think they're looking at the interpretations. They're going, okay, so we can do this, but let's try this. And then if they say that we're doing something, then we'll sit there. We'll ask for forgiveness later as opposed to permission now.
Yeah. It's one of those things to where I think every MLS club has their own ways of trying to build success, and money will always talk. I think at the end of the day, a lot for these clubs. I mean, if you look back at our success in 2017 and 2018, I think money was an issue to where it helped at that time, right? We went in and we bought big guns, big salaries, big players to change the name of the game, and I think we did it in the perfect way, and it ended up working out. To whereas you have Philly, for example, not on a high salary cap, but still they are still able to bring in players that are extremely effective and buy into maybe what their methodology truly is. New York Red Bull is exactly the same way. We're going to rely on our youth and help those kids in terms of being a Red Bull organization, and within their ownership group of selling players and just continuously putting them through the wheel, and selling them at, good, costly prices to Europe and continue them through their trajectory and path. And we're going to be the developmental program of what it may be. Everybody has their own method to their madness to make it work. Mexico, for me, is such a different, unique animal. Now taking away relegation for them over the past few years, I think has been something that I didn't experience that whenever I was there. I was fighting for relegation when I first got there. And you look at players that are transferred within Mexico within the transfer window. You have Jürgen Damm, who was here in Atlanta, but Jürgen Damm was bought from Tigres, from Pachuca for like, how much was it? Was it like $20 million? Right? I mean, it might have been it was something insane. You have players, so many players. Alexi Vegas from I believe it when it was Toluca to Chivas for like $12 million within the same league, right? To whereas we just sold Obed Vargas to Atletico Madrid for shy under 4 million, 3.5 million. Yeah. So, and that's selling to Europe, to a massive powerhouse club within Europe. So I think there's obviously a disadvantage, I think, in terms of development within the Liga MX right now, that I think they got to get over that hump and that curve of just trying to make it to where it is where these young players or these players that are coming through their system have this opportunity to maybe go different places and seek different places without having these price stamps of millions and millions and millions of dollars, because of, I think, maybe before where that disparity was so great. Now, you look at terms with the MLS, it's probably on cue. So why is this player worth, $12 million, where this player is also probably at the same caliber worth $3 million? There's a lot of talk that I think that obviously will spark my weekend. Speaking to the Mexican press, because we already know the Mexican press, they love drama. So it's going to be interesting for me. I think personally, I am going representing the MLS, but at the same time, I'm grateful because everything I have in my life today is not necessarily because of the MLS. It is because of Liga MX. So, in terms of everything I have in my financial life is because of playing in Mexico for the 5 years that I did. So eternally grateful for making my career, and everything that I have and my kids have and my family has is definitely because of Mexico. So it's going to be an interesting topics to speak about. In terms of the leagues coming together and working together and trying to find maybe bridging that gap a little bit better. I think the Leagues Cup, and I think, obviously the Champions Cup is such a great way to bring those leagues together and also see how we can continue to help North America flourish in the long run. Because at the end of the day, I want either of being a very strong Mexican American. I'd love either of those countries, both of these countries, to make it as far as they can one day in the World Cup. And I still think we are a little too far from that. In terms of competing with these powerhouses of other countries. So hopefully it'll be some good conversations and just seeing how we can continue to develop both countries' leagues the best way possible.
See, now I'm writing down for the next time that you come and visit, discussing the USMNT, considering that you've worn that jersey, and how you would, what your issues with the USMNT are and the structure and all that kind of stuff. So literally, I just wrote it down for next time. All right. You mentioned Atlanta United. We got to go here. They're in training camp, and it's the return of Tata. And this is the first time that we talked to you since Tata has started training.
I just saw those guys last week in Miami, so it was fun. Yeah.
What are your early takeaways from what you've seen from the periphery about Tata 2.0?
I mean, it looks like Lexington went extremely well in terms of how he's changed things up. I do believe we have a new left back, which is always interesting for me to see.
Elias Baez from San Lorenzo, yes.
I was a big fan of Amador, but I believe he's probably packing his bags right now and finding another home. It's my personal opinion. I think you're not going to spend – how much do they spend? $3.5 million on this left back?
It's about right with Baez, yeah.
you're not going to spend 3.5 million on a left back for him to come ride the bench. So, I think there's going to be quite a few changes. TV 15 is without a club right now. That's something to look into.
Oh, I thought. Well, hang on. Hey, wait, hang on.
Figure that out.
I thought he signed with Barcelona yesterday.
Ooh, really?
I think so. Hang on just a second, because I thought I saw that. But Tito Villalba. Let me see if I could spell Villalba here. Yeah, I know exactly. New signing for Barcelona arrives in Ecuador tomorrow.
Ecuador. There you go.
So he's arriving today on a 1-year deal after playing at Peñarol last year. So
he was with Mr. Eric Remedi and then Franco Escobar.
Oh wow!
Well. Yeah.
Wow. So that's man. What's that locker room like?
Those guys are clowns, man, in a good way. I think. Okay, well then I guess that one's off the table, because I know that was a push. That was a push for the coaching staff. I'm sure it was.
I mean, when you bring in Tata and you have the changes that
right.
he and Chris Henderson have pieced together, and they want the team to be a certain way, and you have the confidence that he has in players like Miranchuk combining with Miguel Almiron.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing that Tata sees what obviously the folks were seeing when you brought Miggy in last year, what you wanted to combine with Alexi. So he sees that future, and you got to see that in this matchup against Lexington, and now you're going to get it 3 times in a week in Texas. So
for sure. Yeah, I think, you'll get in Dallas some tournament, right, against Red Bull.
Yeah. Right.
Who else do they have? Houston and Dallas?
Houston tomorrow, midweek in Dallas, again, Frisco against Red Bulls, and then a week from tomorrow, it's Dallas in Frisco.
Okay. I think we'll see. I think from speaking with those guys last week, I mean, obviously I have a tremendous relationship with the coaching staff. So that was funny. When I saw all of them, they said, hey, we have to sign the left back for $3 million right now. We could pay you $30. And I was like, yeah, right.
Wow.
I was like, man, you know what, man, I think about it, but I think my hip would probably give out in about 3 minutes.
Wow. Well, you could come in a cup of coffee. They hang the banner up at 90+. You sit there and it's like you tap, Tata taps you. It's like, give me 3 minutes to close it out, man. I need to go.
Oh, man.
Well, okay. So let me ask you this about Tata. What is it that we don't get to see about Tata Martino that you guys got to see and learn from? What is the one difference that we think we know about Tata as a coach, but we don't get to see as a coach? Is there something that resonated with you from the time when we weren't there in a game day, or we weren't there watching practice? What resonates with you when it comes to Tata Martino?
I think Tata is someone who is very, I don't know what the right word would be. It's very analytical. Mm-hmm. You can just tell he knows. I find him so wise. I find him so wise. Somebody who's always looking towards bringing out the best of every player, but also holding that player to the highest of expectation. And I think you automatically have that immense amount of respect for him, because once again, I think the word Tata being grandpa, right, is like I almost always viewed him as my grandpa, right? And that is something that I think is just allowed you as a player to have a certain amount of respect for him. But somebody who, in terms of being analytical, observant, he's very observant, and he's not somebody who is going to pick the pieces out of every single little thing, but he will find a generalization of what he sees in terms of how the team is performing and playing, and try to implement something that he sees within that. And that is something that I think I've had different coaches that try and almost be so systematic that you feel like you are a robot. And I think Tata differs there, because he is somebody who will get a generalization of what he knows is best of every player and try to find a way to implement that kind of synergy and also the talent level of what he has and try to find a way to play with that. And I think that's what makes him unique. I think that's the best two coaches I had in my career, obviously Tata, and another I would probably say even better is Turco Mohamed, who obviously is like the king of Mexico in terms of winning how many championships he's won. I won the first
7,008.
Yeah. I won the first championship with him in Mexico, and we had a crap team in terms of on paper. But I think that's what was so unique about both of those guys, that they were able to find qualities and traits within every player in every position to play to a system that they created, generalized, and based on what they had. And I think Tata does that so well. And I think there are so many coaches that come in to situations and say, hey, this is how I learned. This is how we play. This is how it has to be. This is how it is going to be. And I will die, what do they say? Die on the hill?
I'm going to die on that hill. Yeah.
Yeah. They will die on that hill to implement their system of what they have always known. Mm-hmm. And in my personal experience of all the great coaches I think I had, I just don't think Tata has a unique quality and way of figuring out little bits and pieces as he is so observant with what he sees. So in trainings, I would assume that he is probably just, even today, right? He's probably still observing a lot. Obviously, they're going to show in the media and social media that he's coaching a lot and that he's speaking, and and to be honest, he is not so much that. He is very observant from far away. He will stand in the middle of the field and he'll watch, and he'll have his little notebook and he'll write things down. And to be honest, there were moments to where, after 20, 30 minutes, he would pull us in and he would probably say something that we were like, the hell, there's no way this is going to work. And we'd all look at each other after we got out of the huddle and be like, what the hell are we doing, man? Like, what's, and then we would start doing it and it would work. And it was that little fix of something that he had observed over the last 20 to 30 minutes. And I think that's something that sticks out for me personally, that there were sometimes crazy ideas that he had that you look at and you have never experienced before as a player. And, for me, I had already dealt with Argentinian coaches in my career that I think do have sometimes those crazy enough mentalities to whereas sometimes I had to be that bridge between the Latin and American, people within the locker room of like, hey, just trust the process, even though sometimes there were moments where I was like, dude, what the hell are we doing? I don't know if this is going to work. But it ended up working. And I think that's such a unique quality that he has. Once again, just being that observer is huge.
So then last question, because I know you got a jet.
Yeah.
How much of Tuco and Tata is in you when it comes to your mentoring aspect these days?
Probably not much, because, I think being a coach is so uniquely different than, I think, mentoring. And that is mentoring for me is finding a way to build character and build our leaders of tomorrow. Whereas I think coaching in terms of on the field is the best coaches managing personalities and finding a way to get the best out of every single player that is on the field and what their unique qualities and traits may be. And I think if you are not able to get the best out of that player, then that's where I think somebody else within mentorship maybe can. Because I think that character, when you are playing at such a high level, that character and those traits and all of those other things that you have built up within, right? I think mind and heart are so connected. They should already be set. You should already be set in your ways. And already, I had a coach whenever I became professional in Portugal that said, if you haven't learned how to be a pro by now, then it is too late. And I was 16 years old, right? So, that coach was going to find the best way to get the best out of every player in every position, but he was not going to build them up or make them leaders of tomorrow or help them build character. That is something that is, I think, within. And coaching for me is different. So I think that's the best thing that Turco and Tata had for me, is that they knew how to manage personalities. We had some pretty big personalities on our team in years, and I'm sure people can take some guesses. I had some pretty big personalities on Tijuana as well. And those guys, they just had such a unique way of managing those people and still getting the best out of them without pushing them, overboard.
Okay. So it's more of a present tense versus a, holding on to it for, a future tense kind of a thing. Okay. That's why I wanted to ask that question.
Yeah.
If you would please, have a safe time, have safe travels. Make sure that the corporate synergy is there between Liga MX and Major League Soccer. Hopefully we have helped out with your sound bites and your thinking points and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Next time we catch up will be, I think actually next time we catch up, it'll be time for the regular season. So it'll be time to discuss those kinds of things and get into mentoring. High school soccer will be getting rolling. And
we have our first chat today in high school. So
nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. So pack your bags, stop talking to me, get out of here, be safe, and we'll catch up with you soon.
See you, bro.
All right. There goes Greg Garza. It's always great to catch up with Greg and find out what's going on. But yeah, he had to catch a flight. He's like catching flights and things. He's going all over the place. So that was kind of a quick visit with Greg for the Friday Free Kick. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, BG Mentoring on the Twitters, and BeyondGoalsMentoring.com. I have officially asked Kevin Egan if an Irish goodbye is the same as an Irish exit. So I just texted him, and I'm going to see if we can come up with an answer to that question and find out what is there. A couple of quick things that we're seeing this morning. Apparently, Minnesota United is going to have a press conference at noon. No idea specifically on what it is about. We can kind of intimate what it's about. It says major Minnesota United announcement and press conference today, February 6. Minnesota United, once again, inviting the media. We can't make it, but it's going to be at Allianz, and it's going to be at noon Eastern time. So keep an eye out there. Chief Soccer Officer and Sporting Director Khalid El Ahmad and special guest, literally special guest, 1. Doors open at 11:30. Press conference starts at 2. Okay, so that's all right. It's what I get for trying to expand the print. No. So doors open 11:30, and press conference is at noon at Allianz Field. And so media, okay, so we can actually join via Zoom. Okay, so I might just duck in on that and do the hybrid press conference. But noon Eastern time, major Minnesota United announcement and press conference today. I think we can kind of figure out what that is. I think that it's going to be James Rodriguez, short-term deal to Minnesota United. It's probably a short-term deal through the World Cup, probably a 6-month thing, maybe renewable through other 6-month windows and such. But that's my guess that it is going to be. So that might have been where James was when he was showing the video on the plane, that James might be heading that direction. So Minnesota United, big press conference slated for noon. And we will find out what is the thought there. So if we were to sit there and search the 140-character app, Fabrizio Romano, overnight, here we go. He gave it a here we go in the overnight. Verbal in place, moving in as a free, final details being sorted ahead of formal signatures. But it is listed as a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. And Minnesota United has followed James Rodriguez 10 on IG. So they have followed that account. Jeff Carlisle is in that same vein of major announcement that it's going to be Hamas being signed. And so Andy Greeter, who is one of the main writers for sports writers at the Pioneer Press, who writes on Minnesota United and the Gophers, goes, look ahead. Minnesota United is hosting a news conference at 11 a.m. Friday, Central Time, for a major club announcement. Context. Loons don't share it, but the special guest to be introduced is Hamas. So there you go. So it looks like James Rodriguez is going to be added as a free agent, short-term deal, according to folks. And Carlos Antonio Velez with Win Sports needed to play, and he's going to play. We're more than satisfied. So Carlos Antonio Velez talking about Hamas's arrival in Major League Soccer. So that will probably be something that we'll go lead off in discussing with Jon Arnold. So, so I didn't realize this, that when he posted to his Twitters, James D. Rodriguez, here we go. So he gave Fabrizio Romano a here we go, but he didn't say the where. But it looks like at noon, it's going to be James Rodriguez to Minnesota United. And we will discuss with our next guest when he can wander in from the Central Time Zone. So noon presser, and it looks like it's going to be James and Minnesota United. Length of deal, we don't know, but it's anticipated that it's going to be a short-term one, probably with some options to renew and so on and so forth. Hey, if you're happy, and you know it, sign right here. Charleston Battery have signed Kirill Pakimov for the 26 roster after a trial. Defensive midfielder, career at Oklahoma Wesleyan and at Marshall. So Pakimov has now signed pending league and federation approval. First professional contract. And so he comes in as a trialist. And so he gets that signed there. A couple of other notes in and around. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain set to join Celtic on an initial contract till the end of the year. And Martin O'Neill seemed to be enthusiastic about that. And let's see, what else have we missed? Oh, there's another deal that we needed to discuss. And I think it was a Tommy Scoops mention, if I'm not mistaken. And it has to do with Austin clearing some more space. And as they apparently were not happy with the output of their DPs. And so it looks like Mirto Uzuni, it's the other one. Trabzonspor is in talks to sign Mirto Uzuni from Austin. Deadline day for the Turkish Super League is today. Remember that. So you'll see, obviously, if the deal's going to get done. Uzuni had 8+3 last year in around 2,700 minutes. Joined for the then club record deal of around $12 million last winter. And so if things can get done by the end of the day, when it comes to the Turkish window, Mirto Uzuni out the door in Austin. And so that's another interesting move for Austin, is they found a way in the offseason to send Osman Bukhari to Widzew Łódź in the Polish league. And now it looks like they might be sending Mirto Uzuni to the Turkish Super League. So 2 of your 3 DPs that you had last year would be out the door, and you would still have a DP slot or a U22 slot available, however you wanted to swing it. But Brandon Vasquez would be your only DP left over from last year in Austin if you get this deal signed with Uzuni heading to the Turkish Super League. Facundo Torres in for 9.5. Uzuni could be going out. Brandon Vasquez, those are your 3 DPs at the moment. Your 3 U22s, Mateja Djordjevic, Owen Wolf, Nicholas Dubersarski. So looking for that third DP, that you hold that third DP slot available. But it looks like, and you don't have a whole lot of GAM to play with too. So if you can send Mirto Uzuni to Turkey, then that would be beneficial for Austin, give them a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to their salary numbers and things like that. So keep an eye on Mirto Uzuni and Austin and whether or not that deal is going to go down. So they're going to try and get that done by the end of the day, which is the deadline day for Turkey, for the Turkish Super League. So Trabzonspor, Mirto Uzuni, Austin could be out the door. So you end up with James Rodriguez set to be sitting courtside at Minnesota Timberwolves game tonight against the Pels. New Orleans Pelicans, Minnesota Timberwolves, James Rodriguez, and the Loons. But that's what you're looking at now. At 34, you're looking to find places where you can be the guy instead of a guy. And so you're looking at this as that new move for James Rodriguez. Intrigued. Tuesday, according to The Athletic, they reached an advanced stage, meaning the talks, according to sources with knowledge. Both parties discussed the makings of a short-term deal that would secure his future in MLS until the World Cup. Contract option after the World Cup that Rodriguez and the club can exercise, according to a league source. It will be a budget-friendly addition. Budget-friendly addition to Minnesota. And we'll check their GAM coming up in a bit. But sources said that he would be at the regular season game at the Target Center. Big NBA guy. So he'll be at the Timberwolves-Pelicans game, apparently, possibly, probably, allegedly, maybe. And so now what do you do with Minnesota? Wore the captain's armband at Leon, 5+9. And then you're going into a situation with Cam Knowles where what James does was not what Eric Ramsey did. So it will be intriguing with James going to a market where he will be the guy, and the expectation will be there. So let's just look at Minnesota's roster and their GAM and what it looks like currently, possibly presently. Your DPs would be Pereira, Kelvin Yeboah, and possibly James as of noon Eastern. U22s, Nicolas Romero, Nectarios Triantis, and Owen Jean. You got a lot of GAM, 7.25 in GAM. I think that's the most, if memory serves. That's the most GAM that is available in Major League Soccer at present, going into the season. So user-friendly deal as Minnesota heads to Coachella coming up. First match is tomorrow. They get Sporting, and then they play midweek DC United. Then they play Charlotte a week from tomorrow at Coachella. It's been a crazy year for Minnesota. Out. Dotson, Keller, Shashua, Lud, St. Clair, Rosales, Spiel, Hoyeon-jung, and Matush Kmet. In, Stroud, Fisher, Shankalai, Callender, Komet, Kenya Michelle, Padelford, Rizvanovic on a homegrown, Gonzalez, and Marcus Caldera. And possibly a new NBA fan of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Could be James. Crazy. Noon Eastern time. So we'll keep an eye on that. But, as promised, and it's been entirely too long since we have had this individual here on the morning show. And he said he might be a little after 10 Eastern. He wasn't lying. Man is quite punctual. He's on the Tom Coughlin scale, like everybody else. We're bringing our buddy Jon Arnold. It's been entirely too long, my friend. Good to see you.
I know. How's it going, John? Good to be here. Hello to everyone.
It was, well, the announcement that came in our mail about 10 minutes ago, hey, Minnesota United, they're going to have a press conference at noon Eastern. And it appears that it's going to be James on a short-term deal. I am intrigued. The Dr. Evil Pinky is here at the edge of the edge of the mouth for this one. I'm intrigued by this one. I want to see how he fits.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I saw a post yesterday. Someone said, well, I thought he was washed. And then I looked into his numbers at Leon, his last club stop, and no, not really. He had a good performance. And I mean, I think it's the same with the Colombian national team. But it's just that both of those teams, well, Leona didn't really work, partly because they weren't willing to do what you need to do. But if you know what you're getting with James, which I think Minnesota United does, then I think you're in a great space. And the fact that Minnesota United, although we think they're going to be a different team with a different manager, kind of keeping that same philosophy, keeping those same principles, the fact that you're a team that's we got to create some weird things that happen on set pieces if we're going to win games. This is the guy that can do it. So I'm not surprised to see him in MLS. And then as you kind of go down the teams and you say, well, he's probably not signing for a top tier team. Okay, what about this team? They don't have the budget. What about this team? They already got a playmaker. What about this team? It kind of does, I think shocking is probably the wrong word, but it's still surprising to see Minnesota United and James because it's this link of this kind of Minnesota United's brand has been so kind of down home and local. And, I think they came in the same year with Atlanta, right? And it was, Atlanta's the flashy team. Minnesota's okay, we're going to be reasonable and win as a team. And James is this flash player, luxury playmaker, kind of sexy in a way with the way he plays and just like good looking Colombian guy. So to me, maybe it's a strange marriage, but when you say it's only a marriage for one season, what's really going to go wrong? So I like it, John. I think it's fun.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't put red wine on the rug and doesn't use the rug cleaner or hide pizza boxes in places that he shouldn't, those kinds of things. I think you can live with that guy in your condo for a year.
Yeah, definitely. And really, like I watched him with Leon, and you can see he's still got in the attacking space. He's still got it. Is he going to cover ground for you? Is he going to play defense? No, but you've got 10 other guys on the field who are supposed to do that, right?
Yeah. Since you're here and you've dropped Liga MX twice, for those who do not drift in and watch as much as you do, and me on my Sábado Gigante days or Sábado Futbolero days when I go in and watch from 6, 8, and 10 and watch the whole thing. I had Liga MX Femenil on the Big 55 last night. What are folks missing out on by not tuning in to this particular part of the schedule with Liga MX?
Yeah, first of all, the league generally is fun, right? It's a lot of fun. There's the style of soccer is usually pleasing on the eyes, except when it's not, and it's really not. But for the most part, you're getting kind of a lot of attack. This season has been a little weird, John, because everything about this year is about getting the Mexico national team as ready as possible for the World Cup, which of course is being hosted on Mexican soil, just like it's being hosted on American soil and Canadian soil. So like the season started and then it paused because the January friendly matches that Mexico played were treated as a fecha FIFA window by the league. And now you have it going back. Similar to what sometimes happens in MLS, you see outgoing transfers at the wrong time. You were talking about Minnesota United last year using Tani, like in the summer where they're in the playoff run. And Liga MX is not quite like that, but like Club America, one of the most important teams, had 2 players leave last week who were starters. And you're already 4 games into a 17-game regular season that ends before May because of this World Cup push. So basically, it's going to be a sprint to the finish. Like there's no way to have sort of we'll drop a game here, we'll drop a game there. No, it's going to be, it is an every game matters situation. And the playoffs, which had expanded, speaking of, the NBA, they had the play-in round like the NBA does the past couple tournaments. But this tournament, they said, we need this to be more compact. So only the top 8 are going to go, which is how it used to work. So you won't have half the league going to the playoffs. You won't have this play-in round. It's going to be a sprint to the finish. And so you're watching this exciting soccer with high stakes. By the way, that all wraps up in about 3 more months. So, if you want to, get your quick fix and enjoy the World Cup, then maybe, lock back in on MLS Leagues Cup. It's definitely a good option.
Do you miss promotion relegation?
I do in Mexico. Yeah, I do. But the thing is that I think a lot of times we talk about, in Mexico at least, it was the nostalgia. There is the nostalgia of promotion. Oh, this team was really good. They came up. Xolos and León are actually good examples. They were really fighting often in the second division. They were big rivals, and now they're like fixtures. León had already been a big club, but León eventually signs Rafa Marquez, wins the bicampeonato. Xolos won a title really quickly after coming into the first division, then played in Libertadores. Another thing that Mexican fans are very nostalgic for when those clubs were part of that South American tournament. And what's old is new again, because now we're talking about that being a possibility, right? But I think that was fun. What wasn't fun is that often, because of the Mexican second division being totally disorganized, really poorly run, is a lot of these teams would drop and die. And like, not even like, oh, they played a season, toughed it out. No, like they would drop and they'd say, okay, we're done. And the way that the Mexican franchise system works, sort of similar to what happens in the US, like sometimes it would be this, a club in this city goes down and then an investor buys it, moves it to another city. It gets promoted again with that identity. And it all got very complicated. I think like the long-term solution, I wouldn't be surprised if promotion and relegation comes back in Mexico after the World Cup. That's been the stated plan since they paused it during the COVID pandemic. I wouldn't be totally surprised to see it come back, but I think even then the thumb's going to be on the scale. The big owners, the big power players in Liga MX and Mexican soccer are going to keep controlling this. It's going to be small. Only these certain number of teams are approved. When you look at some of the regulations, which need to be in place, I get that. Like, you can't just have any team become a promoted team, because if he wins on the field with a venue that only supports, we can only get 200 people in here, that would be unsafe if Club America, Cruz Azul come to town. But you look at some of the regulations, and there are teams that are playing in La Liga, that are playing in Serie A, that wouldn't meet the regulations. How does that make any sense? We're always saying, that, European soccer is the standard, et cetera, et cetera. So if this stadium is good enough if Como Stadium is good enough that AC Milan and Juventus can go there safely and have to go there, and this city can enjoy the league, how is this stadium in Oaxaca or this stadium in Cancun not good enough to get to the first division? There's a lot of things. Where I'm going, John, is like, I think it'll come back, but I think what really would, quote unquote, fix the issue requires a lot of hard work, which is Mexico needs a thriving and active and healthy second division. And that's just never, since I've been involved in Mexican soccer for more than a decade, that's never been a priority for anyone, despite the fact that you look around the world and see what it does for player development, what it does for communities. For whatever reason, that just hasn't been on the radar. And if you could find a way to where, if Puebla goes down this year, they don't die, and they have a healthy fan base, and they can fight to get back, and investors want to come in because it makes sense, and you could sell this player, et cetera, the way that second divisions work in the entire world, then you'd be looking at a totally different paradigm. I think it's just going to be a little bit of a Band-Aid. Hey, promotion relegation is back, and those teams that get sent down are still going to be in the same muck that they were in before.
Yep, our buddy Jon Arnold dropping by and hanging out with us. See, I opened the Liga MX door, and I'm like, yeah, we could go down there for like 20 or 30 minutes on its own. So I figured I would ask that one question before we get into the other reason that we had you on. And the Triple C is off and running. And full disclosure, and I tell this to pretty much anybody that I'm in orbit with, I'm like, look, get his Substack. Subscribe. Get CONCACAF.substack.com. This is your daily, this is the Sagrada Biblia of everything that goes on in the region. I am, full disclosure, subscriber, have been for quite some time, and it is my reference point to all of this stuff. What has it been like for you to get to this point to where you're getting CONCACAF and you're traveling and you're doing all these kinds of stories? What has this labor of love been like to get to this point for you?
I mean, I always say the newsletter is an unironic love letter to the CONCACAF region. And I think that when you tune into games like the one we saw Tuesday, and maybe we'll chat about it a little more, like Pumas going to San Diego, an expansion team, but had a great year. Okay, like Mexican fans know it because of Chucky Lozano, who, by the way, is on the ice and being frozen out. And Pumas is this grande, this historically legendary club with cool iconography. They've got a coach who a lot of people remember as a player, and Efrain Juarez, and they score early this like golazo, just like the kind of goal that you just see in these kind of continental championships where, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened. Is it the goal of the tournament already? And then none of that matters because San Diego puts two random young kids in as substitutes, and they, along with the other guys that are out here on the field, totally undo that lead. And now it's 4-1 heading to Mexico City, and this expansion MLS team looks like they're going to get past this great Mexican club. I think those are things that actually fill me. Those are things I actually like. And so, like, it's been easy to, it hasn't been easy to keep the newsletter going from a business perspective. I think you know this as well, John. I say all the time, I think I'm a good journalist. I'm a bad businessman. But, luckily enough, people like yourself have kind of figured out, hey, this is something that's worth putting my dollars and cents towards. And with the media partners I work with and some other, profits, ingresos, I was trying to say, I've been able to make it work, but it's not easy, but the joy is the work. The joy is the games. The joy is when the ball is rolling in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And for whatever reason, like some of these partners who I work with and don't see the value in, hey, we want to cover this madcap, weird, funky continental championship. I think partly because one thing that would help is if MLS teams won more often, right? 19 of the last 20 champions have been Mexican, and the Sounders are the only team that's ever done it in the modern era. So, that would help, right? If it's more competitive, I think editors see more value, but I think that people who tune in now get that value of, hey, this is fun. And look, like, I think we're pretty aligned in our sporting, consumption, John. Like we're sickos or hardcores or however you want to classify it.
Yep.
But like, if you watch this, it's fun, and there's something to be said for that it's enjoyable, that it is serious, that there are stakes, and yet there are these moments where you say, well, I'm not taking this as seriously as, or as self-importantly as, oh, the Super Bowl this weekend or something like that, right? So, which I'll still watch. Like, we both are going to watch the Super Bowl, but like, you can have both and instead of one or the other, right? So, yeah, I mean, the CCC, I've been covering this thing for more than a decade, man, and it rarely disappoints.
Well, and I mean, where else can you talk about Los Super Chivos? I mean, and what we do as a part of our Soccer Over There content on Mondays, and whenever we drift into it here on the morning show, we'll do the primers. And when we get to talk about Selaju and nicknames of the Goats, the Super Goats, the Highlanders, the Brave Ones, and the Departmental Giant, and you get to tell these kinds of stories. And then Selaju gets that first goal on the board, and you're sitting there and you're going, would this to you be like a 314 in March or a 215?
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's exactly like that. And the thing too is like, a lot of it's gotten better in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but like Selaju Stadium wasn't good enough to host CONCACAF games. So they are in the Highlands. They are more than 3 hours away from the capital, which is where they're playing these games. And despite that, I think there's enough of the fans of that team, of the Super Chivos, in Guatemala City, and enough who are faithful enough to travel, that you have a stadium going absolutely nuts, despite the fact that, kind of like March Madness, like, it is a neutral venue. They are 3.5 to 4 hours away from home. So it's been so impressive. And I think that's something also shows that the fans care. I think that it's easy in a lot of ways to look at like a CONCACAF Champions Cup and say, well, it's going to come down to the big teams. It's probably going to be, Inter Miami Tigres in the semifinal, and it's these big clubs, and yeah, the fans will show up. But why have these first rounds, right? We've got Leagues Cup already. Why don't we go to the Libertadores? But then you look at this Guatemalan club playing hundreds of miles from their home stadium, filling the stadium, and it's like, this matters to people, and these clubs matter, and they've earned on the field in a sporting way the right. And oh, by the way, it's 1-1 headed back to Monterrey, right? So, I think like you look, and that's a great example that you bring up, John, of like why this matters to communities, but also why it's not like a participation trophy of like, oh, it matters to you, we'll put the games there. No, these games are won on the field, and these teams get this qualification. CONCACAF's a big region. It's a weird region. One of the reasons I like it and do what I do, you take two names out of a hat, right? What does the U.S. have in common with Suriname? What does the British Virgin Islands have in common with Costa Rica? And all of a sudden, but like, those are the things we are smashing together in this region.
So next week we finish up match day ones. Is there a particular matchup next week that you're going to sit there and go, nope, I'm not leaving my couch, I'm not leaving the desk, I'm locked in on this one? Or is there one next week or a couple next week that you sit there and you put the star by?
I'll give an exclusive here to the fan. I'll be in Monterrey for Tigres and Forge, which I don't think will be that compelling, to be honest. And I'll be at Rayados Selaju in the second leg. I think that's the series I'm kind of watching the most closely, because Rayados are in this mode of transition. Herman Berterame is coming to MLS, or already has come to MLS. They brought in a forward from Atlas. He's maybe playing this weekend against America, a big MAC in Liga MX. Like, it seems like they're the team that could be gotten, right? Like, that's the team that might stumble. I think I'll be watching from the Estadio, from the Volcan press box. I'll be watching Pumas San Diego. But I mean, really, I think they've built themselves a lead that they can feel good about keeping. See if we feel the same way 45 or 60 minutes in. So yeah, I mean, I'm probably most locked in at Rayados, and I'm also really excited for that kind of second batch of games. There's another kind of round of first round games that are coming, where like Real España and LAFC is really good. Cartagenas has been playing good soccer in Costa Rica with a new manager, and the Vancouver Whitecaps have had they've been so good on the field, but the off-field stuff that they blocked out. can they put another run like the one they did last year in? It's got to start next week. So I'm excited for that second wave of games too. I think there might be some more. I'm more on upset watch that week.
Okay, so then in that second wave, where are your upsets? Where are your upsets looking?
Well, I'm interested. I don't want to, like put bad vibes out, but the LA Galaxy's draw was one of the best CONCACAF Champions Cup draws I've seen. And then you look and you say, oh, we thought they'd have Ricky Puig. They don't. They're trying to work around that. I think they've had a good offseason, but then you look at how wrong it went last year. And even though Sporting San Miguelito, the Panamanian team they've got to play right now, hasn't been like total killers, you're like, well, there's something there, right? So I think the Galaxy could still, be in a fine spot, but the fact that they got to go to a weird situation in Panama, and it's not like the normal home stadium for San Miguelito, but they're playing kind of even farther from the capital than they would normally be. So like a lot of weird things happening, and in CONCACAF Champions Cup, you usually got to steer into the weird and say, if something's up here, then we might be watching that one a little more.
Well, and that sounds like a T-shirt. Steer into the weird. I like that. Because if they get in that bracket, and you mentioned that draw, it's Sporting San Miguelito, and then if they get past that one, it's Mount Pleasant, and you're going, dude, who gave you these frozen envelopes, man? I mean, that's some serious. That's a bracket that if it falls the right way, I mean, LAG's got a great path.
Both the LA teams, I think, had a really, really nice draw. And, you're kind of saying, is there going to be a Tráfico knockout, in the late rounds? That would be pretty compelling as well. It is funny because, like, you say, oh, well, yeah, you kind of, the upset would be amazing. But then it's like, if it gets down to Galaxy LAFC, that would also be pretty amazing. And that is kind of what, I think the high-low of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, right? You have look, do I want to watch Inter Miami Club America quarterfinal? And oh, by the way, the Azteca might be open at that point. Yes, I would like to see that, right? But do I also want to see, Olympia, not Club America out in this round? Yeah, I mean, that would also be compelling, right? That we root for the story, John. So, people are, oh, you're anti-Americanista. No, it is interesting when a team that is not supposed to do something does what. What I'm saying?
Yeah. Give me the crazy understanding that I know that the big dogs are probably going to be there at the end. In the early rounds, give me my good stories, give me my crazy, and we'll call it even. I know I'm going to get my grandes and I'm going to get my heavyweights, but give me my moments of insanity. That's what I'm looking for here. Before we go, how bad a man is Jacob Rodriguez?
Oh. We'll see what Jacob can do in the NFL, man. But we enjoyed having him in Lubbock. I think, like, when I look back on the Texas Tech football season, that's like, I just want to enjoy it. Look, it didn't end. The fact that you and I scored as many points as Texas Tech in the playoff, John. The fact that it ended like that, it was frustrating. But watching that team all year, you say, well, the defense is good. Jacob Rodriguez is good. David Bailey is good. Lee Hunter is good. AJ Holmes is good. Like, these guys are absolute killer. Even some of the other linebackers behind Jacob Rodriguez who are back next year, like, still looking pretty solid. Just the fact that for Texas Tech, it's kind of, we have been one of these. We have been the Chelajou. Like, we've been the underdog team from the Highlands, except it's the Plains, that, like, no one cares about, that no one takes seriously, that never really punches up. And the fact that they won the Big 12 for the first time ever, that Jacob Rodriguez should have been on the stage in New York for the Heisman, like all these different things. You're just like, man, I just want to soak that in and enjoy it, because that never happens to us. And even though we're expected to be back next year, that, hey, the changing landscape of college sports means this might not be happening more than these 2 or 3 or 4 years. So it was a lot of fun. I soaked it up. I will say I was hoping to visit you and the folks there in Atlanta, because if Tech had won that game, I had my ticket booked, I had my stay booked, my buddies from college were all coming together. We said, let's make sure we get past that first game, which they didn't. So hopefully, I'm not sure how the rotation works, but hopefully we're there for a Peach Bowl at some point in the future and say hello. Amen. But it was so fun, man. It was so nice to just, like, have a team that was really good and won, especially after so many decades of seeing Patrick Mahomes account for 800 yards of offense and lose. Like, I mean, there were just so many things where you're just like, That's not supposed to happen. So yeah, I had a lot of fun. You know, I wrote a newsletter about it. I got one or two kind of comments, kind of like, "Well, you're the guy who supports the little guy, but now look, Texas Tech, big spend." I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. That's my school. They're spending money. They're winning games.
That's what the diploma says. You got to go there. Look, I need to have you on my college football show in the fall. Look, I'm a Florida State grad, so you know where my chaos is dealing with right now. It's like, if you would please, could we please have the second highest debt load of any school in the United States, as reported by Sportico, $471 million in the hole. Thank you very much for all of your spending, and Mike Norvell drives me crazy. Yeah, the college football version of me. Full disclosure before I get you to plug Get CONCACAF. Our cable system here in the house/office, the boss from anywhere on the planet has an app on her phone where she can change the channel on the cable TV. And she knows that when she's not here and when I am on a Saturday and Florida State is on, she knows I'm not watching because I will throw things and yell and scream and I'm over it. She will make a point to use that app on her phone to change the channel to the Florida State game here on the Big 55 in the office, knowing it will drive me crazy. I had to watch the Miami game in a hotel room covering a story in Chattanooga to be away from everyone, and it was a screed in our production chat for 3.5 hours about how the team from the University of Coral Gables was driving me crazy and how much my team was driving me even worse, and I'm getting a migraine thinking about it now, and this is why college football is what it is. Oh, my God. Yeah.
And these are the things that I've been dealing with for the last many years, but then, hey, this year went really well.
So if you would please, sir, please let everybody know how they can get CONCACAF, and they can get CONCACAFinated and get CONCACAFy and all the things, please, sir.
Yeah, my newsletter, Getting CONCACAF, is on Substack. You can just search Get CONCACAF. It should pop right up. Right here, Jon Arnold FC on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Daily short videos, and then kind of like weekly horizontal, longer videos. Plus the Football Cities Travel Series. Episode 1 in Guadalajara came out in October. And episode 2, as I gave the exclusive here in Monterrey, will be taping next week. And then will come out later in the month. So in February, episode 2 of Football Cities. You won't miss it if you subscribe to the YouTube at this.
See, what he said. There we go, right there. That's from my perspective. Love seeing you, my friend. Love what you're doing.
It's a pleasure, dude.
And continue kicking. You know what? And we will catch up. Don't be a stranger. Now that you have the keys to the garage door opener and where the mat is, you can crash anytime. And literally, I got something I want to say. I'm coming in. Okay, fine. I don't care.
You're a Winter Olympics guy. The last time I was on here, and I don't think you made it this time, but the last time I was on was with a curler.
Yeah, with Shusty, yeah. With
I'm locked in. I watched the mixed doubles yesterday, man. 'Tis the season.
Know. And Shusty, they made it to the finals, and they did not qualify this time around, but Shusty always has his Duluth FC scarf right here. So that's always close to the heart. Do not be a stranger. Have a great weekend. Thank you for doing this.
See you soon, John. Appreciate it.
All right, there goes Jon Arnold, because he's a dude. He's awesome. And it's always great to catch up with him. And I know I kept him like way long, and I apologize for that. So, yeah, get John's stuff. That probably should be the title of the segment. Get John's stuff. And I kept him long, and I apologize for that. But no, there's literally, because he's not here as often as he is, I feel like I'm cramming like 19 different topics into a 20-minute segment, and I kept him for like 25, and I apologize. So I will send the apology letter to him and let him know what's going on. But yes, get CONCACAF.substack.com, and his new article is about JD Gunn, the Panamanian keeper, and chasing after a career in the NBA. Panamanian American, but right now he's chasing after things with the World Cup in Panama. And very, very cool stuff there. So he's got his article up about what to watch in the Triple C, mentioning the exits of Berterame and Fidalgo, and all the things. So recommended, getting CONCACAF. Get CONCACAF.substack.com. Here, let me go ahead and cut and paste, copy here and here. All right, so there's your plug for Jon Arnold and his stuff right there. Get it. And the fact that he broke that news with us that he's going to be down in Monterrey for leg number 2. Very, very cool. Lou City has signed Chris Donovan, multi-year deal, 2-year deal through 27, option for 28. Most recently played for the Union in Major League Soccer. Trying to see if there's anything else that has passed by the all the things. So let me see what we've got here. Arsnes returns to Norway following Figo, Messi, and Thiago. And I think, let's see. So we've got a postponement in the EFL, League One. Doncaster Rovers have expressed their frustration having their League One fixture against Luton postponed for the second time in 26. South Yorkshire club confirmed that they've moved the clash from the 24th despite their strong objections. Comes after Luton were reinstated into the Vertu Trophy following the expulsion of Swindon for fielding 2 ineligible players in the round of 16 tie. Therefore, Luton faces Argyle now in the quarters on the 24th. Now, Doncaster confirmed they've requested the Luton game be played on March 24, despite it falling within the international window. Doncaster said, despite our strong objections, EFL has agreed with the 2 clubs to stage the tie on February 24th, leading to the postponement of our Sky Bet League One fixture. And then they're yelling about it. Date of the fixture will be confirmed in due course. Match against Luton originally scheduled for January 4th, postponed due to a frozen pitch. Doncaster have assured fans tickets for both postponed dates will remain valid for the rearranged date. Swindon also informed of their punishment for the ineligible player, including a fine of £40,000, half of that amount being suspended. If they repeat the offense before the end of next year, then they'll be required to front up the additional £20,000. Reprimanded for fielding Oliver Clark despite him serving a 7-game suspension from the FA. Punished for introducing a player in the second half despite him not being named on the official team sheet. And then the club hits back, and Ian Holloway, I didn't play it because it was so outrageous, but after that match, he went on a 2.5-minute rant in post-match that was completely and totally one of the wildest things I'd ever heard. So it's out there. So if you want to listen to Ian Holloway going nuts, then listen to Ian Holloway going nuts. Okay, now let's see. I'm trying to sit here and plot and plan things. I thought I had something to look at. So I'm still waiting for. I'm still waiting to hear back from our buddy Kevin Egan about an Irish goodbye. Is it the same as an Irish exit? So we'll find out. That is our trivia question for today, and we'll find out. Better from the yeah, no doubt, David. Now this and some friends of mine north of the border were the better from the pitch than the better pitch than Finland's women's hockey team's outbreak of norovirus. Well, and the thing is, they had 13 players, and so they had the game suspended in the round robin and women's hockey. But apparently, Canadian players they had a substantial number of absences there, and they were wondering why their game wasn't suspended. A lot of the Canadian media were sitting there going, "Well, we've got a lot of illnesses too. If Finland had a norovirus outbreak and they're 13 players aren't available to them, and they got that one suspended or pushed back, why isn't ours pushed back?" So Canadian media, they were raising their elbows on that. Why? Well, if that one got suspended or pushed back, why wasn't ours pushed back? So we'll keep an eye out on that as well. Are you going to watch the opening ceremonies this afternoon or tonight? You see, this is the kind of stuff that's going through my brain on a Friday. I'm probably going to watch it tonight because the boss is going to have some friends over, and going to be getting ready for another couple of things too, with the activity going on. DeKalb County's got their media day tomorrow, so I'll be there for that. You'll get a Roots from that on the weekend, getting you ready for the high school season. So we're going to get ready for that too, and I got to send out emails because our first game is on Tuesday. Our first game is on Tuesday at Roswell and River Ridge, 6 and 8 on the network. So we'll be there for that. You can go to soccerdownhere.net and you go to listen, and you'll see on which channel, SDH 1 or 2, the game is on. Since we're not in 2 places at once like we will be with the Creek Cup this time next week, it'll be on SDH 1 on the Mixler channel. So you can listen there and listen to that Roswell and River Ridge, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock from River Ridge, Tuesday night on the SDH network. Go to soccerdownhere.net, hit the listen tab, and you can listen. You can just go to whichever channel is up and running on the live side. So you can do that there. Okay. All right, what was I going to? We got juice boxes to get into. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We got all that stuff too. Okay. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis. FNTZ.co/soccer down here. That link is important. How important is it, you ask? Helps them, helps us. It helps you by adding more matches to everything you're already watching. With Fanatis, you get all the BNs, and I mean all the BNs, which means you get access to the CAF, you get the CAF Champions League, you get AFCON, you get the French League, you get the Polish League, French Cup, you get on Fanatis, you get Tigo Sports, CATV, you get TVV if you want it, TC out of Argentina, CDO, CDO2, Liga 1, Liga 1 Max Pro, all of those channels over there at Fanatis, and all the leagues from South America, all in one place, one subscription, one home. FNTZ.co/soccer down here. Okay. We do have Friday night football, by the way. Leeds and Forest at the bottom of the table. This one's big. We'll get into that in a second. French League, Polish League. Polish League is still chaos personified. And for those that may not necessarily know this story, this is going to be probably one of the wildest finishes that you will have ever seen, and you get to watch it at Fanatis. So the Polish League right now, top to bottom, from Wisła Płock and Górnik Zabrze, all the way down to Legia Warsaw and Termaliczka, separated 18 teams, the entire ladder separated by 14 points. So literally you play 2 games in a week and you would get 2 wins, you rocket up the table. You go to mid-table if you have a good week. Wisła Płock, unbeaten. They had 4 draws in a row. Won the last time out. They were promoted last year. They're at the top of the ladder this year. Better on goal difference. They're at 33 points. Then you go to the bottom, and 2 of the heavyweights in the league, Widzew Łódź and Legia Warsaw. Łódź has lost 4 of 5. They're at 20 points. Legia Warsaw has lost 3 in a row. They're at 19. And the only reason they're ahead of Termaliczka is goal difference. Termaliczka has won 3 of 5 to get to 19 points, but they've lost 2 of 3. The entire Polish ladder separated by 14 points. 18 teams, 14 points. The addiction you didn't know you had until you started watching. It's probably going to be the Polish League. Craziness. You get that game at noon. Korona Kielce and Zagłębie. That one is going to be at noon, and that is 6 versus 7 in the league. My guess is it's going to be a draw. And then you end up with French Cup, French League, Ligue 1, Metz and Lille's at 2:45. USA Network has Leeds and Forest at 3, being an Espanol simulcasting what we just talked about. ESPN Plus, A-League all over. They had one earlier this morning. They've got one late tonight, and they've got one early Saturday morning. Bundesliga at 2:20. Bundesliga B, doubleheader available at 12:30. Bundesliga 3, Bundesliga 3 at 1. And La Liga with Celta de Vigo at 3 o'clock. Fox ONE, the Plus, they have the league we don't talk about or promote at 12:30. Paramount Plus, Serie A 2:45. Charlton Athletic and QPR at 3. On the women's side, very, very early Saturday morning, they've got 2 matches in the A-League with 12:45 and 1 a.m. Now, tomorrow, I'm just going to do like leagues and locations. You can pretty much add 5 or 6 hours to most of this and figure out when you need to watch. So Liga is on being in Espanol. They have their triple header on Saturday. CBS Sports Network, doubleheader in the championship. Derby and Ipswich at 7:30. Coventry City, Oxford United at 10. U17 qualifiers, night side. Remember, the U.S. U17s taking on St. Kitts and Nevis. Dominican Republic put 5 on them last time out. U.S. is once again looking to do the same. And it's going to come down to that last match in the group before they figure out, okay, what's it going to take? But once again, remember, you win your group, you qualify for the World Cup. So you get past St. Kitts and Nevis, it sets up the matchup early next week against the Dominican Republic. Take care of business Saturday night at 7. Grenada, Guatemala at 9. Manchester United and Spurs at 7:30 on USA. Bien en Español simulcasting Liga. ESPN Deportes, your standard quadruple header with La Liga. 8, 9:45, 12:20, and 3. Fox Deportes, doubleheader Serie A. TUDN, Sabado Futbolero, 6, 8, and 10. Universo, 7:30 and 10. Arsenal and Sunderland is at 10 o'clock. Univision, simulcasting Sabado Futbolero. CBS Sports Golazo, doubleheader in the championship, 7:30 and 10. Leicester City was given a 6-point deduction automatic for violating the private sustainability rules. They exceeded the number that you're supposed to with a club in losses over a 3-year period by £20 million. So it was an immediate 6-point deduction. They are right now hovering over the drop zone in the championship on goal difference only. And they play Birmingham City, 10 o'clock on Golazo. Serie A, noon and 2:45 on Golazo. Then they have Club America Monterrey at 10 on Golazo. ESPN Plus, A-League, Eredivisie, 6 matches in the Bundesliga, 5 matches available Bundesliga B, 2 matches available Bundesliga 3, Scottish Cup 12:30 and 2:30, Aberdeen, we've got news on Aberdeen in a minute. La Liga, quadruple header, La Liga 2, it is Cadiz and Almeria at 3 o'clock. Fox O&E, they have, as well as Soccer Plus and the .com, Serie A, Serie B, and the Pro League that we don't talk about. U17 qualifiers, they've got those 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And Fox Soccer Plus has most of the qualifiers, just not the late ones. Paramount Plus, doubleheader Serie A, 5 in the championship, 7:30 and 10. League One, Luton Town and Bradford City is at 7:30. Peacock has all 6 matches in the Premier League, 5 at 10, 1 at 12:30. The women, A-League, very, very early in the morning. Women's Super League, Leicester, Manchester, and Manchester United. Peacock has a triple header in the Super League at 2, 5, and 8. Sunday, leagues. BN has your French League. Swansea City, Sheffield Wednesday on CBS Sports Network in the championship. Qualifiers in the U17, 6 and 9 on FS2. BN Español simulcasting Liga. ESPN Deportes quadruple header. Fox Deportes has Serie A triple header. Telemundo has Brighton and Crystal Palace Sunday morning. Golazo has a quadruple header in Serie A. ESPN Plus on Sunday. A-League, Eredivisie, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, Bundesliga 3, Scottish Cup, quadruple header La Liga. Fox O&E, triple header Serie A, plus all the U17 qualifiers. Fox Soccer Plus, not as many of the U17 qualifiers as Big Fox O&E. Paramount Plus, quadruple header Serie A, 7 a.m. English Championship. Peacock has 2 games in the Premier League. Women's side, Serie A Femenil, Napoli and Ternana on the Sports Network. Women's Super League, 3 matches available ESPN Plus, and Serie A 2 matches available on Serie A on Fox Soccer Plus. There you go. Whew. Wow. That's a lot. So that's what you're staring at. Okay. Juice boxes in England. Let's get you into the juice boxes and your start times there. Leeds and Spurs. Right now, Leeds at a plus 121, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Nottingham Forest, a plus 243, and your draws a plus 224. Also, tomorrow, 7 matches, 1 at 7:30, 5 at 10. Watch Goal Zone if you've got Peacock, and then 1 at 12:30. Manchester United, a minus 172, hosting Spurs, who are almost a plus 395. 10 o'clock. Arsenal, minus 455, hosting Sunderland, who's a plus 1240. Bournemouth, an underdog to Aston Villa at the Vitality at a plus 166. Villa's a plus 152. Burnley at home at Turf Moor, a plus 233. West Ham, a plus 116 at Turf Moor. Your draws a plus 246. Fulham, a plus 110. Hosting Everton, a plus 272. Draws a plus 223. Wolves hosting Chelsea at a plus 391. Chelsea a minus 152. Draws a plus 312, 1230. Newcastle at home hosting Brentford at Newcastle plus 106. The draw and Brentford are hovering around plus 253. On Sunday, before you have action on Tuesday, Sunday, it is Brighton Crystal Palace. Brighton a minus 101. Crystal Palace a plus 271. Draws a plus 257. Liverpool at 11:30 on Sunday morning, a plus 134, favored against Manchester City. Manchester City a plus 179, and Manchester City on the draw in that one a plus 272. Standings going into the weekend. It is Arsenal, 6 points cleared after match day 24. Manchester City at 47 points. Villa, who's lost 2 of 3, is at 46. Then your chase group. Manchester United's won 3 in a row. They're at 41. Chelsea's at 40. They're in the Europa League slot. And they are a point ahead of Liverpool, 9 goals ahead of them in the plus-minus. Liverpool's at 39 points. Brentford's 7th at 36, ahead of Sunderland on goal difference. Fulham and Everton, both at 34 points. Fulham have scored 8 more goals. You're down to that tiebreaker. Gets you to 11th. Newcastle ahead of Bournemouth. 13th is Brighton at 31. Spurs at 29. Crystal Palace at 29, behind on goal difference. Leeds and Forest going into tonight, or this afternoon, same amount of points, same in goal difference. Leeds have scored 7 more goals. So that's where you are with that. West Ham 6 points behind 17th Nottingham Forest. So West Ham 6 points from safety. Burnley 11 points from safety. 3 wins in 24. They've lost 15. They've given up almost 2 goals a match this season. They're scoring about 1 goal a match this season. That doesn't add up well traditionally. Wolves, they've won once in 24. They've lost 18, and they're at 8 points. They have lost 2 in a row. Now, just to give you the idea, we were talking about the championship and the 6-point deduction that was given to Leicester. We mentioned where they are in the relegation zone right now, just to give you an idea. Coventry and Middlesbrough are 4 points clear right now. They would be the 1 and the 2 immediately promoted. Hull, Ipswich, Millwall, and Wrexham. If the season ended today, Wrexham would be in the promotion playoff. How about that? Then you go down to the bottom. Right now, Leicester is at 32 points, one of 3 teams at 32 points. Leicester ahead of Blackburn on goal difference, and they're ahead of West Brom and George Campbell on goal difference. They are 10 goals clear of West Brom and the drop right now. Leicester has lost 3 of 4. They are in 20th. Blackburn won last time out to get to 32 points and get out of the relegation zone. West Brom has lost 4 of 5. They have 1 point in their last 5 matches. Oxford United at 27 points, 5 points from safety. They've lost 2 in a row. Sheffield Wednesday, they've won once in 30. They've lost 21. No real surprise. They are at a minus 40 in goal difference. They are at 58 goals allowed, 18 scored, and they are heading to the drop at minus 7 points. Minus 18 points in point penalties. Leicester, 6 points given up yesterday afternoon. So that's where they are when it comes to all of the chaos that's going on with Leicester City. Yikes. All right. So we saw what was going on with our buddy Tom Bogert. Let's see what's going on with our buddy Ben Jacobs. What are we missing when it comes to those particular transfers? And we'll try and catch up with Ben once the Turkish window is over to get winners, losers, and what he thinks about what's going on in the Premier League. We mentioned the Oxlade-Chamberlain pickup for Celtic. Once again, initial contract to the end of the year. Free agent opportunity for him at the age of 32. Also, Palmeiras and Wolves, the deal for Jon Arias is in. 25 million euro fee expected to travel next week. And that's big news at that deadline. AS1 have acquired ProSport, which once again has a few key players like Tsimikas, Douvikas, and Kouliarakis. So AS1 is now diving into the Greek player market when it comes to all of the players. Latest on the Cristiano Ronaldo boycott of Al Nassr games over a funding dispute. The Saudi Pro League has responded, insisted, quote, no individual, however significant, determines decisions beyond their own club. Unhappy with Al Nassr, despite extending his stay in June until the summer of 27. So he's got another year and a half left on the deal. Missed the 1-0 win over Al Riyadh on Monday because he was mad about Karim Benzema calling for a move because he wasn't happy at Al Ittihad. So Al Ittihad transferred him to Al Hilal. Got a hat trick in his first time through. So no personal issue with Benzema changing teams between PIF-controlled clubs, but he still didn't understand how Al Hilal got approved the funds to match Benzema's demands. The PIF, according to Jacobs, insists the clubs make independent recruitment decisions, while Al Hilal sources stress minority owner Prince Al Walid bin Talal bankrolled the Benzema deal. Al Ittihad had caused tension with Benzema after offering what the former Ballon d'Or winner felt was insulting renewal terms, only for Al Hilal to agree to a one-year deal. And so he gets the hat trick against ATLUTD on Thursday. Cristiano Ronaldo returned to training for Al Nassr this week, set to miss the home game with Al Ittihad, as Ben phrases it, as tensions build. And the senior Saudi officials are aware of frustrations over parts of both PIF and the Pro League's recruitment strategy. Ronaldo played a key part in the hiring of Nassr CEO Jose Semedo and Simão Coutinho, the sporting director, understood to feel let down by financial support given to the club, allowing both to move freely in the market. Al Nassr were only able to add Saudi forward Abdullah Al Hamdan from Al Hilal and Iraqi midfielder Haider Abdul Karim from Al Zahra SC. And so the question is, how does the Saudi transfer market work? Saudi clubs share around €2 billion in seasonal budget, allocated in the summer and intended for transfers, agent fees, and wages. Money comes from what they call the Player Acquisition Center of Excellence program, the PACE program, distributed based on need and market opportunities. And so as a result, clubs don't get the same across the board. So the 4 PIF-controlled clubs, Al Nassr, Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, and Al Ahly, can also use their own money. It's potentially not a long-term problem since all 4 clubs are expected to have new private owners by 2030, which was kind of the goal all along. Al Hilal set to be the first to be sold, potentially as early as this year. Saudi sources insist PIF was only ever intended as a medium-term owner and a part of the initial stage of privatization. Senior Saudi officials are even hoping Ronaldo chooses to buy Al Nassr after he retires, but now the new short-term challenge might be turning his head another way. Further talks expected to take place between Ronaldo and senior PIF and Saudi Pro League officials with a firm desire within Saudi to keep Ronaldo and have him reach that milestone of 1,000 career goals within the kingdom. So Ronaldo had the missing of the match. Saudi Pro League said this: Saudi Pro League is structured around a simple principle. Every club operates independently under the same rules. Clubs have their own boards, their own executives, and their own football leadership. Decisions on recruitment, spending, and strategy sit with those clubs within a financial framework designed to ensure sustainability and competitive balance. That framework applies equally across the league. Cristiano has been fully engaged with Al Nassr since his arrival and has played an important role in the club's growth and ambition. Like any elite competitor, he wants to win, but no individual, however significant, determines decisions beyond their own club. Recent transfer activity demonstrates that independence clearly. One club strengthened in a particular way, another chose a different approach. Those were club decisions taken within approved financial parameters. Competitiveness of the league speaks for itself. Only a few points separating the top 4. Title race is very much alive. That level of balance reflects a system that is working as intended. Focus remains on football on the pitch where it belongs and on maintaining a credible competitive competition for players and fans. And so when Cristiano Ronaldo sat out, everybody was like, oh, Manchester United. Not so much. Not at the moment, anyway. Besiktas has agreed to a €20 million fee with Wolves for the transfer of Manuel Agbadou. So Wolves are kind of jettisoning folks as best they can right now, understanding, I think, the landscape. So that is where they are in this rundown. So I'm continuing to check and see if I'm going to get a text back, whether or not an Irish goodbye is the same as an Irish exit. So, okay. Wow. Okay. Good deal. Let's see. So all right. So we're efforting an interview with James Donaldson, and we will keep you up to date on that. We'll let you know what's going on there. Okay. The other stuff going on that we need to get into, player transfers and such. Boston Legacy has actually announced their 2026 preseason schedule, and it is going to be over the next 3 weeks. It is going to be in Bradenton, Florida. Then they're going to go to Murcia, Spain, Alicante, Spain, and back to Murcia to take on Chicago Stars, Molde, and Alhama CF out of Liga Femenil. And there's going to be a 5th scrimmage announced at a later date. So Boston is up and running, and it will be interesting to see where Legacy go from here. So let's see. Does that account? Is that the account I'm looking at? Yeah, kind of, sort of. All right, so hang on. Literally, I'm bouncing back and forth between everything. There will be a new episode of the Soccer for US POD coming up a little later today. If you missed it, go to soccerdownhere.net and read the feature interview, the long-form piece that Jason and Maddie were able to do with Ronald Hernandez. It's really, really good stuff catching up with him. Preseason tour for Messi and friends is in Ecuador tomorrow night, and they're going to take on Barcelona at the Monumental in Guayaquil. And it is going to be a big night for the country when you see the tour continue. For Barcelona, it's going to be a big night for them once again as they continue to, as they continue their tour here in the preseason. Morocco's national team. This was the other piece of news that came out before the show started this morning. Morocco's national team is now they're under reports that Walid Regragui Walid Regragui has tendered his resignation following the AFCON defeat in the final. Formally offered to step down, according to Foot Mercato, after the 1-0 loss to Senegal, denied Morocco the long-awaited continental title at home, and has, according to Foot Mercato, hit him on a deeply personal level. Guided them to the World Cup semis in 22, AFCON finalist. And so now, if this is in fact the case, Morocco, once again, apparently has not accepted any resignation, meaning he technically remains in charge while officials try to figure out what's going on next. And I'm trying to see. So it is, in fact, trending on the 140-character app. And folks are saying once again that Walid Regragui has tendered his resignation, but nothing is officially official. All of the sources, Hanif Berkane at Foot Mercato, Hanif Ben Berkane has been the first one. And you're seeing, like I said, it is being reported, but it is not being officially reported by the federation that Regragui has in fact resigned. So it is being reported. It has not been confirmed. And so you now have Morocco, a couple of months before World Cup qualifying in the next AFCON cycle looming. And so Morocco now has a decision. They got a decision to make. We mentioned Hamas. We mentioned the U17s. Sheikh Sabali has signed with Vancouver Whitecaps through 28-29. Option beyond. Brings with the League One experience from Mets. And so Mets to Vancouver Whitecaps. Sporting Kansas City has locked in 15-year-old midfielder Zamir to a long-term MLS Next Pro deal, putting him on a pathway for a debut for the first team by 27. And the NCAA is considering coaches' challenges. We'll bring that up with Bart next week. That'll be fun. So that'll be interesting if that ends up happening. Copa del Rey semis are set. Barça and Atletico. That is going to be one of the headlines. Athletic Club and Real Sociedad is the other. That's on April the 18th. So keep an eye out for that. Let's see. Barraca Central pulls off a shootout win last night in the Copa Argentina over Temperley. Promotion playoffs in Serie B in Brazil starting in 26. And according to, once again, our conversation with Greg Garza, who was looking for Tito Villalba to come in and be a part of Atlanta United 2.0, he is signing with Barcelona, and we saw that happen as we go. So keep an eye out on all of that stuff. So that is there. I'm trying to see if there's anything else on the board that we might have missed this morning, or we'll go and have a little bit of added time here in a bit, and we can get you caught up with what's going on in the OFC Pro League. Really good story out of South Island United, where you have Jaylen Rodwell, who is his lineage is from the island nation of Niue. And they are in a triangle that is surrounded by the Cook Islands and another couple of island nations and commonwealths in the Southwest Pacific. And he is the first footballer from Niue, of Niue heritage, to be playing professionally. And he's doing that with South Island United. And then also Harris Zeb, whom you might remember once again from our time covering Auckland City last year in the Club World Cup, of Pakistani descent. He's now getting time with the Pakistani national team. Was born there, moved to New Zealand when he was 2. And he is now a part of South Island United as well, and taking up residency in Christchurch with his family. So it was a really interesting dynamic that was with the two of them in their interview, and you can hear that as well on the network on the weekend. So let me check really quickly when it comes to Houston and the preseason schedule, if Torneo de Tejas is in fact going, if the world is going to be televised, Houston Dynamo. So hang on just a second. So Dynamo checking their social medias and seeing what it looks like. And FanFest around the corner, they're talking about that. Hospitality packages, preseason, brought the wallpaper, Girls, Women, and Sports Day. Nothing involving any kind of notice on the Torneo de Tejas, but obviously if that changes, then we will obviously let you know. So 3 matches in a week, Torneo de Tejas, first at Hell in a Shell tomorrow night. Then they go to Frisco, midweek taking on Red Bulls, wrapping up a week from tomorrow with the hosts FC Dallas, noon in the midweek, 1 o'clock a week from tomorrow. But 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night, it is going to be Atlanta United, Houston Dynamo at Hell in a Shell in Houston. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right. Let me see if I can find any more information on what's going on this weekend, if Atlanta United knows of it streaming or anything like that. And what we'll do when we come back, we'll put a bow on everything. And if there's anything else going on, we will talk about it on our way out the door. So as promised, we go added time this morning. I know that we go added time a lot, but this is added time with a really cool story. We catch up with our friends at South Island United in the OFC Pro League because of some of the folks that are there now. One representing a country that is trying to build a soccer heritage, and one that has been around the world, and he's representing a country that is growing in the Asian footprint. Here's our conversation with Jaylen Rodwell and Harris Zeb of South Island United as they are in Papua New Guinea getting ready for their next match in the OFC Pro League. Seriously, we had a conversation from here in Office HD to Papua New Guinea last night. Here's the conversation, catching you up on the OFC Pro League. So let me get this straight, guys. You're doing laundry right now off camera. Is that accurate?
Well, I think, our team manager was, but me and Jay just woke up about half an hour ago. So, yeah.
All right. So who won the toss? Who gets to decide who's going to either answer the questions first or is winning and deferring and answers questions second?
I don't think we mind. Either way is fine. I think, we'll be all right.
I didn't know if there was like a fight and somebody had a headlock or somebody did rock, paper, scissors to figure out who was going to answer these questions first. But Gareth, since you spoke up first, let me start with you. What has it been like for someone who is raised in Christchurch, who has history with the Pakistani national team, who knows about Club World Cup with a scarf over my left shoulder? What's this experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's something that, it's kind of been in the pipeline for a while for Christchurch to have a professional team. And, when there were rumors starting to sort of circulate around last year, I was always keen to come back down to Christchurch and play professionally. And yeah, it's been awesome so far. It's a grateful experience to be, traveling around Oceania and playing for South Island United, and also moving back home and living back with my family. Obviously, football can be a bit lonely sometimes, and, you're traveling around the world and, you're having to sacrifice a lot by moving away. But yeah, like I said, to move back to Christchurch and be with my family and represent, the new professional team from South Island is just amazing.
So for Jaylen, what's it been like for you? Because you guys, it seems like you're dodging raindrops practically every day, but you have a different set of understandings here. We'll get into the New Way story in a bit, but what's the experience been like for you so far?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Obviously, I'm from Auckland, so not really from the South Island, but to obviously represent New Zealand in general has been great. I have a bit of family that's down south, so obviously reconnect with them has been awesome. And to obviously play with Harris, I guess we're living together at the moment, so that kind of helps. I'm staying with his family, so that's also a real special moment for us to kind of get closer together, and obviously playing in the same team is a bonus as well. So yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take my first time out here and ask Harris, what's it like with having your roommate there with your family and all of that? I have to ask about your new roommate hanging out.
No, of course. So me and Jaylen, we actually played and lived together in 2024. So when I moved to Auckland, we were both signing for the same team, Birkenhead United, and we knew each other before that because a long time ago we trained a few times together at Ole Academy. But yeah, so I know Jay like as a whole person, so we spent the whole year together, and it was like the most fun year, like we did well with the team, and then off the field it was funny, we were working together. So I know him inside and out. And so when the move came for us to connect back at South Island United, we were obviously buzzing, because obviously we knew we get to travel around and whatnot. But even then, just speaking with my family, I just talked to them, just said, Jaylen's going to be moving to Christchurch. What are your thoughts on him coming to stay with us? Like, I know he's a good guy, good person. I know he'll get along well with my brother. He's like literally my best mate. He came to my wedding and things like that, last year. So know him inside and out. So yeah, so my parents were just like, yeah, of course, like no worries, So yeah, it's been calm. We've been going to train together, living together back home in Christchurch, and then rooming together here and stuff. So we see a lot of each other.
Wow. Okay. So what has it been like kind of being adopted by the Zeb family there, Jaylen?
Oh, it's been awesome. They've been super kind, and obviously taking me in to let me stay with them. My family's super grateful for them letting me do that. But it's awesome. Obviously, it's a different culture, a Niuean culture back home, and Pakistani culture in Harris's household. So that's kind of different, which is quite cool to kind of see how they live and the different things they do. So yeah, it's awesome.
All right, so I'll bite. What's it been like for you to embrace and understand the Pakistani culture in that household?
Yeah, it's been different, very different. There's obviously a little things that we don't do back home that they do, which is not a problem at all. It's quite cool to see, actually. My mum was really into different kind of cultures and religions, and so it's awesome me being able to live with the Zeb family to kind of see how they live, which is great.
I'd say the food one is probably a bit different to him though. So it's like, obviously when we're in Auckland, we're making food together, just normal, chicken, mince and whatnot, but then coming home to my mum, she's making like a lot of curries and different things like that, so yeah, just heaps of different little things like that. But
that is not me calling you, by the way, during this. So when you guys are now a part of this with South Island United, Harris, do you feel like a role model? Do you feel like one of those explorers that has the pith helmet and the machete going through all of the forest and everything, being a bit of a trendsetter for others? Do you feel like a role model, Harris?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's something that I've felt like I've kind of had to adopt it to this season. Still being only 24, turning 25 in a few months, it's something that I look around the group, and we do have quite a young team. And for guys like myself and Christian Gray and things like that, we could say that we've got a bit more experience in terms of even playing in the islands, but playing in big games and for some big teams and things like that, So it's definitely something that, I'm trying to help the boys out with. And it's also a new experience for myself, just try and help the boys wherever I can, and, make sure that, we can try to do as best as we can, because there's a lot on the line with this new tournament. And yeah, it's definitely something that I'm embracing.
And so what about for you, Jaylen? Obviously, coming from, having a Niue as a part of your family background, you're representing them in the triangle that's off to the east, if I'm getting my geography correct, and now you're a part of this. What's going on here? You're kind of having to juggle a couple of different ideas being a role model, true?
Yeah, it's honestly a main one is probably my family. I got all younger siblings, so I got 2 sisters and a brother that all play football as well. So I'm kind of leading them on a path, I guess. So I definitely have that on my back, which I'm super grateful for. So obviously to try and lead them and to inspire them to someday become a professional footballer, but to also remind them that to keep that Niuean religion and nationality strong on your back, as it's a real small country, and so obviously have something like that is just awesome. And so, yeah, I guess as we continue to go into this pro league, I guess, yeah, hopefully inspire more younger kids, not only from New Zealand, but also from the island of Niue.
So, Harris, let me ask you, when you're now a professional there at South Island United, and you represent Pakistan in international play, you're catching the growth of the game in a couple of different ways. What has it been like for you to see how it's growing in Oceania, how it's growing in the Asian footprint as well? You're catching the growth of the game in a couple of different ways. What's it like for you to see the game grow the way that it has?
Yeah, no, of course. It's we've always known that Oceania's needed a professional league and things like that, and we know there's a lot of potential. There's always been the top Oceania players from the Solomons and whatnot, coming over to New Zealand to play, but to now have like a whole professional league where foreign coaches are now coming to the other island teams and say other Aussies and New Zealand and other foreigners from around the world coming to those teams to come out is amazing. And it's what we needed in Oceania. We needed a professional league where we're getting more matches in and things like that. So yeah, it's amazing. And I think you can see the quality in some of the teams. We beat Vanuatu a few weeks ago, but that was a very tough game. And then even just 2 days ago we played the Solomons, and they arguably could have gone either way. And so you can see the qualities there in Oceania. It's just about obviously nurturing the talents that we have and obviously understanding the game a bit more and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And even back home, it's the same sort of thing in Pakistan where, I've gone and played there, and there's a lot of local guys with a heap of talent that have grown up playing on not even normal team, but I could honestly say they could come easily play New Zealand. So even for them, it's exciting. They're getting things, sort of started over there with the new Pakistan Super League. They've got Solano and, an ex-Premier League player as the gaffer. So working with him is amazing. And even he's been able to see, the local talent there. So definitely I feel like football's on the rise in Oceania, definitely with the new Pro League. And then, hopefully as well in Pakistan with the new Pakistan Super League, hopefully starting either this year or next. So yeah, definitely exciting things on the shore.
No, and Jaylen, full disclosure, one of the stories that we have kind of pursued here from the beginning is over with the Marshall Islands and how they are trying to establish their soccer federation, their national team, and they had their first ever round of friendlies this past spring and summer in Arkansas because of how the Marshallese are pocketed here in the United States. And to see what you're trying to do there to help out with New Way, it's really cool to see this kind of stuff continuing where countries aren't left behind. Where with Harris and he's seeing what's going on with Pakistan from a national team perspective, now you're getting that opportunity with New Way as they're trying to build too. So it's another way where you're seeing Oceania, Micronesia, all these different places there in the Pacific continue to grow. What's it been like from your perspective?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Obviously, there hasn't really been much football news or history for Niue, and so obviously be the first professional footballer from Niue is awesome and a privilege. And yeah, I hope it's the beginning of something for Niue to kind of get them on the map. We don't have a national team right now, but I've been on the phone and talking to a few people back home to kind of try and organize something to get that going. The boys give me a bit of a hard time and say that we probably don't have enough players for an 11, but I reckon I'd be able to find 11 players somewhere. I think there's one boy on Auckland FC that's half Niuean, so I think me be able to probably, I don't know, find a few boys that can play. But it's a step forward, and hopefully from me doing this, it kind of inspires other players around the world to obviously embrace their Niuean culture and hopefully all come together and one day build a national team.
So, Harris, when it comes to expectations with South Island United this year, what were yours personally, I guess, when it comes to your growth as a footballer, and then when it comes to the team itself? What were your expectations, and what are you hoping to accomplish by the end of this season there at South Island United?
Yeah, definitely. So as expectation for the team, this is a whole new setup, like a new group, new coach and things like that. We didn't really have much of a preseason. We had, I think, maybe 3 weeks in total. So obviously the expectation with the group is obviously always there to win. But I think a realistic expectation that I had for our team would to be a top 3 finish. I think, that would be, what we think is achievable and realistic. With then obviously building in, to the league the next, the years after. For myself, obviously, like we talked about, adopting that sort of leadership role on the team is something that, was an expectation of mine, but then also playing as a winger is always to help with getting goals and getting assists and helping the team win. So that on a personal note, but definitely, also back from a team perspective, seeing, how everything's run. It's a new professional team. Players haven't played professionally before, getting used to the pro environment. And just the whole club as a whole is literally brand new. So to go out and say straight away we want to win the first year with a 3-week preseason with a whole new team is, it's possible, but realistically, I think a top 3 finish would be achievable.
So then, Jaylen, when it comes to all of this, what have you learned about yourself as a footballer in this sprint that was a training camp, now coming into league play, doing something for the first time in a league that had not existed until then? What have you learned about yourself?
Definitely a few things. I think the professional football life is obviously very different to what we've been used to. It was more of an amateur level of you train a couple times a week and you turn up on a Saturday and you play a game, where now we're in every single day and we've got set routines and set timings for different types of things. And so definitely learned a lot about myself, of that professionalism, and that I guess once you're in that kind of situation, that your level raises to that. And obviously it's been awesome for me to be a part of this. And with all these games that are happening so quick, I'm surprised that my body is holding up this well. With playing a few back-to-back 90-minute games, it's tough, but obviously you get used to it. And with the heat, you adapt quickly. And with the different help of the staff and different things of recovery, it's obviously, it kind of helps with that kind of stuff. And obviously having Harris there as well has been good. We kind of help each other out and bounce off each other, which is awesome.
And I would imagine, Harris, that your experience last year at the Club World Cup probably helps out with a little bit with that, with going from venue to venue and city to city and back to Chattanooga for practice with Auckland City and all this kind of stuff. What do you remember what your travel schedule was in the group stage last year?
It's testing my memory there. Not exactly 100% sure, but I'd say this tournament definitely reminds me of last year when I played in the Oceania Champions League with Auckland City. We played in the Solomon Islands against the island teams, and that was, I think, a tournament over 2-3 weeks. And so we won that competition, which led us to the FIFA Intercontinental Cup later on in the year. But yeah, definitely playing in Oceania reminds me a lot of the Oceania Champions League, which I played in last year, which is playing in the heat, in the islands and things like that, So yeah, it's prepared me well. And also, like you said, the Club World Cup of just traveling everywhere, home for a couple of days, this, that, it's really on the go.
And when you mentioned all of that, you're going from plane to practice to venue. Plane to venue to practice to hotel to venue to play to hotel to airplane to practice facility. Am I close?
You're close. Yeah. I understand that.
I mean, we talked about being a role model. I mean, with the two of you talking to the guys that may not necessarily have that professional background, how do you keep them on that straight path to where, like Jaylen said, it's like he's still amazed his body's holding up the way that it is, but how do you keep them focused so they don't get that little injury, they don't lose focus, they don't lose that? What are those conversations like with you guys who played with those guys who haven't, so they don't get freaked out by this whole experience?
I think definitely it's just setting an example. If there's a few of the senior players in the team, doing the warm downs, doing that extra bit, drinking their protein shakes and things like that, then that's obviously, the boys are going to follow. So I think for us, we've got a group that, is really gelled together, and we haven't had any issues with any professionalism and things like that, since we've been here. But yeah, definitely I think for us, it's just, leading by example. And the big one for us is when it comes to game days, I feel like it's a big mental battle because the games are so close to each other, is that there is going to be an element of fatigue, but we can't use that as an excuse. And that, to train your mind to get ready for another 90 minutes in another battle is definitely the main thing that I'd say that, even now, like, keep trying to enforce to the boys that we can't slip up. We need to keep locked in. We need to keep focused and things like that. That would be the main thing. But yeah, like I said, the boys have been, super good, super gelled together, super up for it, super receptive to the information that we're giving them. So yeah, it's been class.
So, Jaylen, how much of this has been a surprise to you? How much of all of this, whether it is, quality of play with the other clubs, the aspects of starting something from scratch, what has surprised you the most that has been a pleasant surprise about this whole experience so far?
Yeah, I think the traveling has been been a big surprise. Obviously, I haven't really traveled as much as we have right now, and so that's been a big surprise. I thought it would be a lot more tough, to be honest. I was a bit skeptical on how.
Don't jinx it, man. Don't jinx it.
I was a bit skeptical on how the boys would obviously hold up, and not only myself but everyone else. But yeah, it's honestly been a switch, and the boys have adapted real well. Like myself, we've kind of it's just like we're in camp. It doesn't feel anything too crazy. Obviously, it's a big thing that me and Harris are kind of, I don't know, a role that we've stepped into of just keeping the boys real close together. And obviously the things off the field is super important. And so it surprised me on how much of the boys gravitate towards us, I guess. They do listen to us now when we say little things, because off the field, we ask them how you guys are doing. We check in on them. We make sure that their bodies are good. We make sure that their mental health is good. We always check up on them. And so I think the boys appreciate that. And it surprised me of how, often you would see, I don't know, little groups forming, which is just so good for the team. And obviously when you are traveling in these conditions, you do need to be together. And I guess, we've kind of stepped into that role, which has been awesome.
So then, Harris, how much of the gaffer is in you and how much of you is in the gaffer?
Oh, the gaffer. Good question. Good question.
I saw Jordan go back like this. He's going to let you answer that one.
Yeah. No. Obviously, let the gaffer do his thing. He's the big boss. He's running the show here. But I mean, just little things. Helping the boys out on a few things. Obviously, I have a quiet word and things like that. But never overstepping any sort of line and things like that.
Because Jordan's mentioning how it's almost like you guys are, I don't know, assistant coaches or however you want to phrase it, the guides working everybody through this camp experience. I was asking, that's why I was asking that, because if the two of you are kind of like the guys that everybody leans to, then you might be that buffer to the gaffer, and then the gaffer might rub off on you. You might rub off on him, those kinds of, that's why I was asking that question.
It's normal. Like we're like super chill guys. Like we're taking a leadership role with the boys in terms of, obviously, when it comes to game day, we're locking in, or any like little tips we can help the boys out, have a quiet word, keep them locked in. But, obviously off the pitch, me and Jay, you could probably say are some of the biggest jokers in the team, like we just cracking up, playing table tennis with the guys and playing cards and getting the morale up and stuff and things like that. It's kind of just being there for the boys. And like I said, especially the younger ones that are this environment, new to sort of these big games, and just helping out, where we can. But Gaffer is the boss, and we listen to the gaffer. There's a big line there.
Jaylen, who takes these games with your teammates the most serious? It doesn't matter what it is. Could be cards, could be ping pong, could be whatever. Who's the guy that takes these games the most serious when you guys are off the pitch?
Oh, it's a tough one. We'd probably have to say, would either be David Yu or Ryan Foyt's, probably. Our star striker and star number 10. They get pretty butthurt, to be honest. Even just a little game of cards, and David be throwing the toys at the cot. So I've seen a bit of him. So it's definitely Davies up there, and with cards, Ryan's pretty salty as well. So I think those two need maybe to pull them for a side for a little chat or something, but.
It's like throwing cards and toys. I'm like, wait a minute here. It's like they're that bent out of shape that they get that salty if the hand doesn't go their way.
Yeah, they take it pretty serious, and obviously sometimes you can see it on the pitch, which is good. They're super competitive and they always want to win, which you can kind of. But sometimes we just kind of have to tell them to relax and take a joke, man. It's only a game, But we get it, so it's like,
All right, scouting report time. Next matchup's against PNG Hikari, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so scouting report. How much study hall have you guys had with this matchup coming up? I think tomorrow, your time. What's study hall been like getting ready for this one?
Yeah, it's been good. We've obviously done some video on how they set up, and even from a personal standpoint, I played against Hikari last year in the Oceania Champions League final. So well aware of their threats and the players and things like that. And we know it's definitely going to be a tough game. I think they're actually the bottom of the league at the moment, and I think they've just got rid of their manager. But yeah, by no stretch, they're a really good team. They've actually been really unfortunate not to pick up more points, and they've got some definite threats on the wing and in the middle and things like that, so it's going to be a tough game, but yeah, it's going to be the last push for the boys. After that, we'll have a bit of a rest before the next camp, but yeah, looking forward to it, and yeah, it's going to be a really, really exciting game.
Well, guys, I cannot thank you enough for doing this, rolling out of the rack and having somebody making sure that the laundry's done in cold colors, to make sure that it's not done in hot temps, so the things don't shrink when you're out there in the matchups. I cannot thank you guys enough for doing this. Harris, especially for what you're doing with your communities and the ties that you have, and Jaylen, obviously, being the trendsetter that you are and being the man at the front for a couple of different things. I can't thank you guys enough, especially. We're keeping an eye on you up here in the States, and we're going to keep an eye on you as things are going on. I can't thank you enough for spending time. Go get breakfast or brunch or lunch or whatever you're doing this time of day. We'll be keeping an eye on you this weekend and for the rest of the season. We'll check back in. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Jaylen, Rodwell, and Harazeb. For those of you that know the West Coast Conference, Jaylen actually spent some time playing at the University of Portland. So that's those two are with South Island United in the OFC Pro League. We're going to continue our coverage, obviously catching up with the ties that are attached to the United States and all the great storylines as they are continuing year one in that league. And planning an interview to catch up with Ronan Wynn coming up in just a little bit as well. A couple of quick things before we go. CONCACAF has announced qualifying for the 2030 World Cup, what the cycle is going to be. Round 1 in 2027. They're going to do teams ranked 14 through 35. Round 2, going from 27 to 28, 11 winners in the top 13. Final round in 28-29, the top 2 from each of the 6 groups. Qualifying is 3 group winners, 3 runners-up. 1 more could qualify through the 2-layer playoff. So that came up from CONCACAF this morning. So very, very cool stuff from them. At least we now know the cycle and what it's going to look like from them. Quick note about John Textor overseas. It appears that today there's a meeting of the Belgian Federation with the club, with Molenbeek, and reports are that if the Federation decides to deduct points from the club for violations of financial rules, Aries management would execute the guarantees and take control of Molenbeek, and that would be the latest there. Let me RWDM Molenbeek. Let me see if we have anything there. So. Or, I don't know if you typed it properly, RWDM Molenbeek. Okay. So this morning, latest, I think is what we're looking for. Latest in Molenbeek does not appear to have anything new when it comes to Molenbeek and their status with the Federation and with the league. So we'll find out what it looks like there. And we'll keep an eye on that as well. So we'll keep an eye on Molenbeek, keep an eye on John Textor, keep an eye on what is going on at Botafogo, and keep an eye on what's going on with everything this weekend. Remember, tomorrow, DeKalb County Media Day, we'll be out there. I'll be getting interviews. We'll post that as a Red Clay coming up early in the week, and we'll get you caught up with everything U.S. With the youth national team, the U17s, efforting interviews out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are also keeping an eye on Tuesday's going to be a very, very busy day on a bunch of different fronts. It's going to be our matchup with Roswell and River Ridge to set up our high school schedule, and we're going to try and get you ready for Creek Cup as well, the tournament that's going to be at Johns Creek in Northview late next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And our high school schedule is going to be off and running, and we're going to bring back the lunchtime Red Clay. So Red Clay Wednesdays, the lunchtime, catch up with all of our high school coaches around the state and get you ready for the season. That's going to start up next Wednesday, noon Eastern, here on the network. We'll get you prepped for everything going on in Georgia high schools as well. So busy weekend on all fronts, and we can't thank all of you guys for hanging out with us as much as you have this entire week. It's been a lot of guests and a lot of cool stuff. Today, it was great to catch up with Greg Garza and Jon Arnold. We had Nino and Nico catching up with us yesterday. We had our friends from Ball Watchers catching up with us on Wednesday to find out what's going on at St. Louis City SC after they've lost their main striker, Joao Klaus. Rebuild ongoing, so it was great to catch up with them. Jordan Gardner from Hearts Football LLC about what it's like to be an American and working on MCOs in the European theater. That was fun, and that was a great conversation there. And back on Monday, Abe, Maddie, and Bart. Once again, remember, there's going to be a new episode of the Soccer for US POD coming up in just a little bit. That's going to be up later this morning, noon Eastern time. It's going to be a press conference with Minnesota United. Looks like James Rodriguez on a short-term deal, and we'll keep you posted on that and everything else as well. Torneo de Tejas 2026 tomorrow night. Atlanta United, Houston Dynamo, 8 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock local time at Hell in a Shell. No broadcast plans announced yet. Keep an eye out on all your socials, and we'll keep you posted for all that stuff. It's been another fun week here at SDH. It's been another fun week with all of you guys, and we're going to continue rolling through because business is going to pick up as we get you ready for everything going on, because we're going to start a bunch of seasons coming up, high school, MLS, NWSL, and then we're going to get sprinting toward the World Cup and everything else that's going to be attached to all of that. So it's been another great week. Thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. And so that means that it's time to wrap up yet another week here at SDH. And there's only one way that we do that here. And we just wish you a very safe weekend because we want you back here on Monday. So mucha platiel, play it safe. Thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. End of the show on a Friday, which means one thing. We'll catch up with you soon.
The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours because it's Friday.